Hello together. This is Torsten and Richard. Um, we are currently waiting for Federico, and he just emailed me 2 seconds ago, so I will answer him soon. He's a little bit late because of all the different time zones. It's sometimes problematic. Yeah. What shall I say? I'm Torsten. I'm part of the Dreieichkon organization team. I'm responsible for the program. I will host some of the panels later. Richard here is the organizer of another convention close to, actually in Würzburg. Maybe some of you know that. It's the Mainwürfel convention. And yeah, Richard, would you like to take over? Then I will answer Federico.
Okay. Hello, my name is Richard Downs. I am part of the Dreieich host team today. Yes, we want to talk with Federico about his systems, his design, and all about him. And I hope we can start him soon. Yes.
Yeah, like I said, time zone differences.
We are in Europe, and here are time shifts, and so we have more time shift than the day before. That's a little bit problematic, but
That's true. An hour later. For you folks in America, it's the same time. It's so weird. Okay, I hope you have a nice GaryCon so far. I was looking for all the pictures and photos out there the past days. It seems to be very, very, very nice and very snowy. I hope you will all have a safe drive home, safe flight home, whatever. And yeah, so here we are. Last day, very excited. At yeah. Now we're waiting. Let's chit chat a little bit about conventions. How about that? Let's waste some time. Useful. Yeah, Dreieichkon will be in November. I heard the Mainwürfel convention starts next year again.
we try. It's some problems with the locations, but we have to fix it.
Yeah, nice. It's a very nice convention. A little bit smaller than our convention, but very nice. Located in maybe the next time not located in the same location as far as I understood. And yes, Federico joined our team where they start. They will give him a short introduction, and then he will be here with us soon. Great, great, great. So yeah, if you are ever in Germany in November, please join us at Dreieichkon. It's actually my sentence for the ending later, but however, I can say it again.
You can say where Dreieich exactly is located.
Yeah, you mean Dreieichkon?
Yeah,
I didn't hear you for a second.
Okay. I want to say that Dreieich is near
Frankfurt. Yeah, Frankfurt area.
Frankfurt
It's
area.
10, 12, 15 kilometers to Frankfurt, and
where our biggest airport is.
yeah,
So
you should find Frankfurt.
you have many possibilities to come there and drive back at home.
Yes, we will have a nice program, hopefully.
Oh, I think so. You have always
I know a
nice
thing or
problem.
two, but I can't tell that now. So we will see. In a couple of weeks we start announcing some things, and yeah. Until then, it's waiting for Federico. He's already in Discord. Yes, great.
How big is the Dreieichkon?
In 2019, we had about 2,500 visitors over 2 days. Then we had just our online convention, that was really big because the online convention were worldwide. That was really great. But last year when we were there again, it was less, but not that much less. I think about 2,000. But
But
I'm not sure. Maybe I'm yeah. Let's say 2,000. That's okay.
But you have to say that you limited the visitor places to
Yes,
your con.
we limited the visitors to about 1,000 per day. So maybe it's 1,500 people or single people and 2,000 visitors. So, oh, I see we have a new guest.
Hey.
Hey,
Hello.
can you restart your camera?
Yes. There we go.
Great. I want to say hello. Thank you and sorry for the problems with the time differences. I'm out now. We all see us later. And Federico, I sent you an email later. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Hello.
Hey.
My name is Richard, and I am the host today. I'm sorry for my rusty English,
No problem.
but I think we can start, and it will be great. To you, can you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, definitely. I'm Federico. I'm an Argentinian games designer. I've been making TRPGs for about 7 years so far. I'm currently living in Japan. And yeah, I have a company that's called Arcana Media, and I do RPGs.
Okay, nice. How do you can you start with your TTRPG history, how you get into the hobby, and what are your thoughts to get a company and make your own stuff?
Yeah, sure. So I started playing RPGs. I started when I was around like 15, 16, with a friend back home. We started with like Warhammer First Edition, I think, which doesn't really mesh with the time frame. Like, we already had like Second Edition back in the day, but like in Argentina, it's now impossible to get any sort of like games, especially back in the day. So we found that online and we started to play, and yeah, off and on, just like trying new games and stuff like that. Eventually, I played a lot of World of Darkness, and in 2015 I moved to London from Argentina to basically do creative stuff. That's what I wanted to do. And I started working on my first TTRPG, Nibiru. And around that time, I got very involved in a pretty big club from London and from the UK in general. Now it has like several branches called the RP Haven. And within that club, like I started testing my game and getting in with the community, and eventually I landed a job at Modiphius Entertainment, which is a British company, and I worked at Modiphius for about 3 years. First as a developer, and then as like a line manager, and eventually my game did reasonably well, so I went independent. I made my company, and yeah.
One question about Modiphius. What lines do you looking for? What TTRPG?
So TTRPG wise, because basically Modiphius was like working on every sort of like the board games, war games, etc. I did some stuff for the Star Trek game, the Conan game. The one that I worked on the most, which I line managed, was Dishonored. But generally, it was like one of those environments. Well, depending on the day, you get switched around, or you worked on different projects, etc.
Okay.
So,
so you are independent with your company, and look to Kickstarter to your project Nibiru, and I'm very impressed. And how big is your company? To get a feeling,
It's
3
just me.
people. Just you, okay. But
Yeah.
you have help by some by some yes.
So yeah, for Nibiru, the art, most of the art is from other artists. For the expansion, Xanadu as well. Now Zephyr, the one that got Kickstarter about like a month or so ago, I did all the art. So like I'm my own illustrator as of now too. So yeah.
Okay, we say the name of Nibiru, but we don't talk. So we get started into this system. Can you introduce the system and your thoughts about it?
Yeah, totally. Nibiru is basically a game about memory and identity. So pretty much the system is a system in which the setting is also sort of like inseparable in that case, because like the setting is essentially a huge space station home to millions of people, where there's like civilizations that rise and fall within. And because it has centrifugal gravity, the further you go from the center of the space station, the more pressure you have. It sort of works in a way as a prison. Like you can't really get out. So as a thought exercise, as a world building exercise, it was super enriching because you had to think about how entire creeds, religions, ways of thought developed without the concepts such as the sun, the moon, the stars, the open air, and stuff like that. Like theorizing about all of that was super fun. And system-wise, because you take the role of vagabonds, people that awoke in the space station with no memories of their past, you basically have a system in which you have a pool of points called memory points, and you spend them when you can spend them if you want to when you make a roll, and if you spend them during a roll, you basically describe a flashback that inspires you to succeed at that action, and basically you write down that flashback, and it comes with a permanent bonus to whatever action you were trying. So from a base 3 dice roll that's essentially encompassing every action possible, you start to mold your character through memories, which are these sort of like snippets that have a mechanical bit and a narrative bit. So and there's a device in which you can gain memory points. The fastest way to get memory points is to choose to fail roll a permanent penalty. So you get memories in return in that case. So it's the process of gameplay as the campaigns go is like molding and taking chunks of expert from one to the other and balancing it out. So yeah, that's kind of how it goes.
Sounds very cool. How do you get the name of a game? It's not yes, something I read somewhere and think, well, yes, cool idea. Where do you have the name of this?
Well, Nibiru is basically in ancient Mesopotamian sort of like writings, it's just a reference to a celestial object. So in this case, I pictured, yeah, sure, this could be like a space station that is somewhere that I've sort of like described specifically in the book in Fomalhaut B, which is sort of like a cloud system. Um, I think it's farther from like the Oort cloud, but it's not super far away. It's in our galaxy, and yeah, I sort of thought it'd be cool if it would be something that you could actually see in the night sky. So yeah, that's why I put that name, and
Okay.
it's tied to, of course, the sort of like ancient Mesopotamian aesthetic that the game has at many points.
How do you get the idea with the memories? It's a big selling point of the system, I would say. And how do you get the idea? for me as a GM, I think it is very interesting.
Well, if it's basically about how I came up with the idea of memories, I basically just wanted to write a system that would reward players for creative writing. I think specifically it fills a sort of a niche of the kind of player that always comes like with 8 pages of background for their character, and it gives it to you as the GM, and you're the GM, and you don't know what to do with that because it's hard to integrate that in some sort of way. Well, in this case, that kind of player, has that in. If they have that written down over the sessions, they can, start creating memories and start writing the snippets that they have in a digestible way. And each one of those snippets that they have will basically give them a mechanical advantage or disadvantage or something. So I think it kind of serves that sort of player, the players that like to write, like to think about the background of their characters and stuff like that.
Is the system finished, or get we more books to have more parts of the universe or parts of the space station, rules, etc.?
Yeah, I don't tend to consider lines as finished or not. Like I released an expansion last year. Was it last year? I think it was last year. Which like had a new archetype and expanded upon the world and stuff like that. So yeah, it depends really on my mood entirely. If I want to write about that universe, if I feel like I'm in a particular, time in my life that I feel, I want to write something like this. So yeah, it's basically that.
Okay. I have to. Yes. How get I contact to your system? Can I board it? Can I download it on your site? Can I have a quick start or a box to enjoy the first gaming moments?
Yep, there's a free quick start guide in my website in oracana.com, and it's there to buy.
I have your quick starter by drive-through too. For pay what you want. So I think the most of the people who use PDFs take drive-through or itch. But it's cool that you have your homepage. Your homepage, is there more information about Nibiru or download things like cheats, etc.? It's many stuff you get when you start with an RPG, and so you have a lot of maps, cards, condition cards. I don't know. It's remember cards, memory cards.
There's accessories. There's like a screen with a pocket where you can slide the small adventures that I sell. The book comes with a PDF, and the PDF comes with an audiobook too. Both the core book and the supplement come in audiobook form as well, free with the PDF. So yeah.
Okay. Are you on VTTs? Virtual tabletop?
I think that that there should be like what's it called? There's a Roll20 character sheet for Nibiru. As far as I can recall, I never use VTTs, but I tend to play on Discord.
Yes, for a narrative system, I think Discord is a good choice. But many people use them when they play Dungeons and Dragons or other map-oriented games, and most of the people use them for the dice. And I don't know if all people use Discord for speaking or the Roll20 platform or the other VTTs. I use VTTs because of COVID. So I have to use it. I'm one of the GMs. I play on table, and I hate online playing, but the things changed. The question was play or not play, and I want play, so I go to Roll20. Yes, Corvid, what's the problem for you, for your product, for your whole state, for your inventation for?
It was a problem, particularly with logistics, because I had to do logistics for the supplement of Nibiru, Xanadu, that released recently. And yeah, moving stuff around got extremely expensive. But I made it, so fortunately that's done. Apparently, it's getting easier. I'm not sure if it's going to get cheaper though. But at least timing wise, it doesn't seem like it's been as bad now than it was back then. We had like the whole like shipping lanes interrupted and stuff like that. It made stuff take a while to ship. So yeah.
Okay. You have another TTRPG. Nibiru is not your last. Do you want to tell about it?
Yeah. So it's Zephyr. Zephyr is the tagline is an anarchist fantasy game of fleeting identities. It is set in a sentient landmass, so a continent that's alive, that moves, walks over essentially a massive salt flat. And the players take on the role of windfolk, which are essentially beings that live in far-off communities on this sort of like living continent, breeding continent, and then they set out from their communities to fulfill sacred obligations. It's very different from Nibiru.
I think so. Yes. Fleeting identities.
Yeah.
What can I imagine when I play a character there?
So essentially, Zephyr has a strange premise in that it's a game about in which the landscape and the beings that inhabit the landscape are made of feelings. Those feelings are a substance called the Zephyr, and it comes in 4 colors: cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. It's a game that has no dice. It uses tokens of those 4 colors, and so the clump of tokens that you have on your character sheet is what your character is made of. So it's pretty big on it being like a survival game in which you have those tokens and they're your constitution, so they're your HP, but you also have to spend them to, make an extra effort on like a roll, a survival roll or something. If you spend them in different combinations, you get to build your character's identity through feelings, because different color combinations give you a different feeling. For example, I spend 2 magenta and 1 yellow, and that's fury, and I establish like a bond of fury with like an antagonist. So now I have like bonuses when interacting with them or something like that. So I start building my identity a bit like with Nibiru had memories. This one is with like feelings and sentiment. The cool thing is that like those tokens that you spend and that you get spent on like as you move through the adventure, you need to get back. So there's a lot of survival game with like hunting, cooking, gathering, and stuff like that to recover those tokens from the environment. So it's a bit of a board game sort of feel of tokens going in and out, and you doing cool stuff with like different color combinations of tokens.
Sensitive Island. Oh, my little girl. Sensitive Island. How you get this idea, and what can I imagine when I play on this continent or island? I don't know what's how big it is and what's about
Yeah,
the whole thing.
I can show you. I think I can show like images and stuff, right? In the stream.
I have to I have to talk with the technician about it. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, so it's basically like a sentient continent. It has legs and arms, and essentially has 4 lungs. So it's interesting because like each of these lungs is below like a tectonic plate, And so as one breathes out in, and so like inflates, the plague sort of like shifts, and so you have like this season thing where as the thing sort of like leans in, the mountains lean in, and it projects a shadow and creates micro winters, and just streams turn to rapids and stuff like that. So it's a very, there's a lot of stuff about like the weather and the conditions in which you're traveling and stuff like that, tied to the fact that you're on the back of a living continent. And because it's essentially a game that has a very specified, so like beginning, which is when your group takes on these obligations from their community. It's sort of set. So it's like you as you start, you build your obligations, so you determine how far you're going to travel, how dangerous it seems to be, what's at stake. Is this an obligation that's personal to one person, or is it with the entire community? So you're starting to build your obligations like that and adding up a series of points. And those points you then use to sort of like get the technologies and the skills that you use to build your character. And so after you build as a player the objective of your character, you get those points in return and you build. And like with other games, you have, of course, like types of archetypes in a way, but they're not locked. And you kind of have to talk with your party, because you have to say, okay, he's going to handle like a lot of the cooking. She's going to do a lot of the hunting. She's going to be more of a tracker sort of person that like sort of, can craft stuff out of like things that we find in the thing. So a lot of like survival roles get built during that beginning, and then off you go. And it's pretty cool, I think, from the GM side of it, because you as a GM don't really have to worry about the objective and like landing this point C of the narrative that you need to get. That's already set by the players. You kind of have to think about how you're going to sort of like throw a wrench in the plans, and how it's going to not go as expected. You guys aren't going to like go straight into whatever your objective is. So it's cool on that part. And of course, other obligations can surface during your trip. And then there's particular rewards that come from succeeding at fulfilling those obligations. So yeah, I think I got cut off my camera. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, that's kind of like how the thing is.
Okay.
I can show the map.
If they see it. I don't know.
Okay, doesn't matter.
We give it with a few links, I think. Yes, we give it the audience later.
Yep.
The continent, is the environment shifting, or is this it's shifting? Huh? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it shifts around. There's like several sort of like location slides that you can sort of like pick from the book and just chuck the characters in, because there's like a lot of weird stuff in the thing. And at the beginning of each session, you roll on a table to see the weather, and so the weather changes, and it changes a bit how stuff happens, and so yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's about survival, you say?
Yeah.
You say you play Windfolk?
Windfolk. Yep.
Yes. Okay.
So they're essentially constructs.
Oh, constructs.
They're like sentimental constructs.
Sentimental constructs. Okay.
There are no humans in the setting.
Because of that, I ask you the question, because I say, okay, Windfolk, it sounds not human. And okay, so you have a connection to the continent when you are a sentient construct. Yes.
Yeah, because essentially, like if you're using tokens to like do effort or like establish a bond or whatever you do, you're spending those tokens from your character sheet onto a region. So you have the map, a regional map, you spend them there, and then those tokens that are in the regional map and that start to accumulate, you can use them for other things. stuff that's environmental. For example, make a volcano erupt or like spawn a particular type of creature in your immediacies. So players are not just thinking about the tokens that they're using to get whatever their character they want to do with the character, but also what they want to do afterwards when it comes to the environment. So they have some degree of agency of their environment with those tokens, and then may be able to get some back depending on how they play and the mechanics they engage with.
So you can manipulate the environment with your feelings.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
You say it's an anarchic setting. Have I understanding right?
Mm-hmm.
Where is the anarchic theme in it? I heard survival. I heard sensitive. So
Well, essentially, the Windfolk essentially live in like egalitarian communities, and they manage themselves with this principle of obligations. They have obligations not just to one another, and the obligations being sort of like the drivers of the narrative, but also they have obligations to certain features of the landscape, with certain species of animals that they have contracts with and obligations and stuff. And sort of like the antagonists of the setting, which happen to be at the center of the continent, which is the only place which is like plain and there's no like super weird landscapes and stuff, is the salt states. So these are states in which like there's beings with masks made of salt, which have like a huge industrial sort of like urbanite empire, and they're constantly making incursions into Windfolk territories to get captives and stuff like that. And they manage themselves through debt, money, etc. So the Windfolk, of course, are kind of like against that. So there's that sort of thing of like resisting state influence and state outreach into their lands and stuff like that. And they're kind of like they're one of those like enemies that you can't really face. You need to avoid them, and you can spec in different ways. And there's a system that's quite involved about like avoiding them and escaping from them. But yeah, you don't. It's one of those things that you always have to be alert, especially the further you go closer to the center of the map. So yeah, that's kind of like the anarchist theme in the game.
okay. The enemy get it the same benefits from the emotions, or are they emotionless and more than statues or empathy less beings?
The people from like the South States?
Mm-hmm.
They are, but they are sort of like, yeah, kind of like more colder and more calculating, and they have like a whole set of philosophies that are like super dark. Essentially about the idea that everyone's in debt, and the only way of bringing jubilee from that debt, and basically everyone absolving one another of debt, is for one people to become the owner of everyone's debt and then abolish it. But to do that, it's like a fight of everyone against everyone. So you have like small feuds, and the city is essentially like the huge city at the epicenter is like divided in like 7 or 10 or 13 quarters, like small feuding neighborhoods fighting one another. So yeah, it's a super violent society, and the game in particular, when it comes to violence, for example, has 2 distinct mechanics. There is one thing which is the violence that you can get from like being hurt by an animal or falling from a cliff or something like that, which is you just lose tokens. You just hurt your constitution, you lose tokens from your constitution. But if you get attacked by the Salt State heroes, which that's their name, they're heroes, and you don't manage to escape them, because there's a whole thing where you can escape from their grasp. Because the violence has an ideologic so like component to it. It's systematic, and it has like a whole rationalization of violence. It's not just nature's violence, which is random and it just an act of God or whatever. there's two things that can happen. If you get shot at, you have to drop tokens in your character sheet and then puncture your sheet, and you start losing chunks of your sheet in a way. If you get slashed at, you drop 2 tokens, draw an imaginary line, and cut your sheet through that line. And you do whatever it is that remains of that. So it's one of those things that you really want to avoid it. Because if it's not a death sentence, it's kind of like a challenge for the player to think how they're going to continue on having been, wounded in such a manner. So yeah, it's something that's distinctly put in the book.
Okay, so when my sheet cuts through half, is the other half lost, or can I get it
Yeah.
back?
You basically choose one half. You can retain. There's a few set of mechanics that allow you to slowly repair your character, getting certain parts of the sheet back, maybe getting your bonds, or maybe getting, like, I don't know, skills that you could have just completely forgot because of the kind of damage that you received that got cut off from your character sheet. That you can slowly revert it, but it is very difficult and it takes time. So yeah, it's, you don't want to essentially end up in the at the sword's end of a hero of the Salt States.
Very nasty. Animals. When I we have the stereotypical animals from our world there, or have you other animals there? And the important question: can I manipulate animals with my emotions? Say more angry or eager and terrifying.
So animals are like Windfolk and every other being. They're sentimental constructs. So like, for example, a wheat fiend is like a huge sort of like beast made of like a clump of wheat that is just turned into living. So like there's that logic, like when a storm is coming, like a maelstrom from where most forms of life are born, people in their granaries like make sure that the wheat is well stored, because if not, it could turn into like a wheat fiend or something like that. So that's the kind of creatures that you find in the world. All creatures have a constitution. So like the set that is like, I don't know, the wheat fiend is 4 yellow tokens, 2 magenta, 1 black, 1 cyan. So that tells you, for example, the kind of tokens that you gain if you eat it, if you hunt it down and eat it. And of course, depending on how in tune sentimentally with the creature you are, if your constitution, your character's constitution, looks more like the creature's constitution, there's different kind of interaction you can have with it. So yeah, there's a lot of mechanics that go into that that play with the token constitution of the creatures, and yeah.
Is there something else you want to talk about your RPG?
About Zephyr, there's really cool stuff tied to what happens when you fulfill obligations. Basically, depending on how big the obligation was, you get a certain. Essentially, what happens is the first time you get an obligation, you get like a fetish, which is a small statue that's rolled with like a thread. And once the obligation is fulfilled, you can unroll that thread and weave a pattern. So pattern is essentially what allows you to do magic kind of things. And there's a space in the character sheet, which is 2 rows of like holes that you can essentially weave, so draw a pattern across that. And it becomes a bit of a puzzle because you're weaving that with bonds, and the stronger the bonds, the stronger the powers that you just woven. But then, of course, you want to try to get as many patterns as you can tied to the strongest bonds, so you get the best power, etc. So it turns into a bit of a puzzle where you're drawing patterns and thinking about what you're going to get and how you're going to fit this line in here. So there's a bit of a thing there that's pretty cool. That's tied to how you build your character on the long term. So yeah.
Okay. Do you kickstart it, or how
Yeah.
do you? when is the release date?
It's already it's already kickstarted. It's already funded.
Okay.
It's out on pre-order now, and it
I'm
should
sorry.
be yeah, not a problem. And it should be released around November, most likely.
Okay,
Mhm.
cool. Has it a quick starter too?
No, this one doesn't have a quick start. It does have a series of chapters that are already free to peruse. You can
Okay.
get from the Kickstarter page.
Then what are your next projects you planned?
Well, currently finishing Zephyr is priority, but after that, I have a couple of ideas for both Zephyr and Nibiru. For Nibiru in particular, I'm not super sure yet how that's going to shape up to be. But with Zephyr, most likely it's going to be a new book, and if it's going to be a new book, it's likely going to focus on the salt states. So yeah.
Okay. You recognize you say so many. I harder with my questions.
No problem.
um, RPGs. It's a very big part of you. You live in Japan.
Yeah.
How is it? It's a other culture. The people play there, I think, otherwise. Like American is other than Europe role playing. Um, um, do you take there your creativity from? Do you speak with Japanese role player? Can you say about
Yes.
that? I think it's interesting to see other culture because we have the I don't know where it's called in English. We call it in German Tunnelblick. You see just your thing,
Yeah,
Dungeons and
tunnel
Dragons.
vision.
Yeah.
Yeah, television. People play online a lot here. Cthulhu is super huge. Cthulhu is Call of Cthulhu is the biggest game in Japan. Has been for a while. The formatting of books is very different. You tend to see more so like paperback, black and white books here, even for like huge IPs. Like there's a Dark Souls game that was released even before the current Dark Souls game in the West. Paperback, so like black and white. There's pretty cool ideas system-wise from time to time that you get to see. There's stuff like, for example, you often see rules explanations in manga form, which is quite fun. But yeah, that's more or less it. I haven't had a chance to play that much in Japan for now. Mostly played like essentially had the chance to play, but mostly playing Western games.
Okay. Another question: where do you have your inspiration from? I think you have very special settings. I love it.
Thanks.
But but I think, wow, where do you get it from? Where do you have the I take a tentative island and take some emotional constructs and tokens and so on? I mean, yes, you are a developer and leader from a company who have some creative TTRPGs and board games and tabletops in their program, but yes, I'm very impressed.
Thanks. Yeah, most of my influences are from social sciences and social science theory. I read a lot of theory. It's one of the things that I just do every day. Partake in book clubs and do stuff tied to social sciences. Particularly for Zephyr, a lot of it was anarchist anthropology, which would be specifically the anthropology of peoples outside of states. It's generally from anthropology, history, philosophy, but it tends to come mainly from social sciences. There is very little in terms of inspiration from fiction with regards to these games.
How many feedback you get from your audience, the players, the GMs, they bought and play your games?
Like the kind of feedback that I get?
Yes.
They really like it.
Reviews.
I think it's. I think that at least with my games, my personal experience was that not many people know them, but the people that do know them and like them, they really, really like them. For Zephyr, like all of the big sort of like rewards from the last Kickstarter got bought out, like the £400, £200 thing, even if it's a small Kickstarter. So it's a niche but really committed fan base, I think, which so far it's made it so that I can live off of this. So yeah, that's sort of like the feedback that I have.
Have you some exchange with your with the buyers about your do you say, yeah, I have this idea in mind, you can test it on yourself, or some questions about I don't know, rules or as it?
Oh, yeah, there's a Discord server. So I have a Discord server, so everyone can basically reach out to me, and every so other day we talk there and chat around about and stuff like that. So yeah, it's very easy generally to reach me, and we talk mechanics, we talk world, we share like game session anecdotes, especially for Nibiru, which is the one that's been out for now. Soon to be Zephyr 2. We'll hear anecdotes and stuff like that. So yeah, in the Discord, we basically tend to chat about. I don't really get ideas from people because generally I just write whatever I feel like writing at the time. Not really having an obligation to anyone. So yeah, I think it's the best way to design games, at least for me.
You say it's a little Kickstarter. I said you have 2 success Kickstarters. That's a lot more than many
3.
others.
Yeah.
Sorry, 3.
The-
3, yeah, the expansion. I forgot. Sorry.
Mhm.
Yes, 3 successful Kickstarters. I think this is a lot more than others can dream of. When you go home is very well when you play in your hobby. Do you only play your own games, or do you try other games as well?
No, I most of what I play is other games. I mean, I play my games during playtest time, and if I find people that happen to want to play my games, but generally I try to play other games. My play group tends to like more sort of like traditional games or more games that are about combat. So now, like, we have an Exalted game that's been running since last July. So yeah, it's I tend to play games that are quite different to the games that I tend to play. I really like Warhammer. So yeah.
Okay. When someone asks you he wants game master one of your systems and wants you to be a player. And you recognize he makes something other than your own imagination and rule set. Is this a problem
I
for you?
don't care. Not at all. I don't care in the minimum thing.
I think
I couldn't care less.
I have to ask this question.
Yeah, it's good.
Yes, I see some of your books in a few of my bookstores. I was very happy,
Mhm.
and I I'm definitely look more about it after our chat.
Nice.
Have you some, yes, how can I explain it? Some points to say for other designers who want to take out their systems to the audience? Will you say that you have in mind? Because when you don't think about it, it breaks your neck.
Right. If it's a new system, well, I guess it kind of depends, because we have like so many different proclivities for why we sit down and write something. It can be because, like, as you said, you just want to get it off your chest, and in that case, just do it, whatever. But if you have a particular idea in mind that you want to express, I think the most important thing is try to question every element of what you understand to be a system. Like, does my game need dice? Why does it need dice? Does my game need a character sheet? You know, ask questions, ask lots of questions of all the elements of design. Because, for example, if my game is about rock hoppers mining asteroids, etc., maybe using stones to determine like the result of actions and stuff like that conveys the theme and the mood of the world much better than dice. Dice are an abstraction. If my game, well, is about rock hoppers, etc., my character sheet, which is essentially evoking something about the identity of these people, how can I make it so that it says something more, something particular? Well, it could be a contract of employment sort of formatted thing tied to the company that hired them to mine things. So I think that interrogating every aspect of design, not just the rules, but the way they're formatted, the way they're presented to the players, to convey the specific ideas that you want to convey, is at least that thing is like central to my process of design. So yeah, that's why Zephyr has I think color tokens and not dice. I think, for example, that's a like thing about like feelings being material and stuff like that. It would be much more difficult to convey and for the players to envision if they had just dice and they play with stuff in their mind. The fact they have their tokens being physical there and they're handling them and exchanging them makes those ideas be much more digestible and easy to communicate. And that's important. I think that's pretty important when designing stuff.
Is there an TTRPG do you want to write for an adventure or a campaign setting or whatever? Do you say, "Oh, I love Warhammer"? You said you love you played Warhammer First Edition, and you said, "Well, I want a campaign setting about Albion," but Cubicle 7 don't write it. So I asked Cubicle 7, can I write a campaign setting for Albion? Is there something?
Not really. I think I'm sort of over that phase. Like, my time is very valuable. I feel to the point where, like, and I have so much stuff that I want to do, which are just my own ideas and the things that I'm feeling at the moment about my life that I need to express with whatever I'm writing, that I end up writing that. I have much more creative freedom, given that like I do my own illustrations, my own system, my own world building and stuff, that I tend to like be like, yeah, of course, if I had all the time in the world, sure, I'll write a Warhammer thing. I don't, and yeah, I think I'm more happy writing my own stuff. Yeah.
Do you game master a system in the
Yeah, from
moment?
time to time. I haven't narrated for a while. Actually, no, I narrated Zephyr last December. Yeah, I do GM. I really like GMing.
Okay. I think that's one of my last questions. Red. Where is it? Okay, I'm out.
Don't worry,
I
you're doing great.
try. Um, Yes, I know. Do you have some projects with other companies? I don't know, for novels, for ideas, maybe, or do you try another media like music for your games that you say, yeah, I want music for Sapphire and Nibiru or something else?
Yeah, I'm actually producing now a set of like tracks for Nibiru in particular. I come from a family of musicians, and I'm collaborating with a friend who's also a musician. We're producing like soundtrack for Nibiru stuff. That's something that it tends to happen. Like if there's some sort of like medium, like I did with the audiobooks and stuff like that. If I can make it and so like express something and put it out there for people, I'll do it. But mostly it's just from myself.
Mhm.
Like it's kind of weird. Like I say that I'm a company, but that's just like the legal entity that I am. It's just the legal bracket in which I fit if I want to, spend 4 hours a day at a cafe writing games, and that'd be my job.
But you are a jack in all trades. You have the ideas, the design. You are a musician, and uh, very impressive. Very impressive.
Thanks.
Um, do you think you? I need only 4 minutes. Okay. Um, Novels. Do you think novels is a thing for you, or is the whole thing too much, too big, too exquisite for writing? I don't think for yourself, maybe other people who think it's a so wonderful setting. I want to write a story in it.
No, it's not exquisite at all. I think it's just a matter of like what's more fun, and I find writing rules and writing games so fun. Because that's the thing. Like if you're doing music, if you're doing illustration, if you're doing game design, etc. Like games like tabletop role-playing games are so comprehensive and the amount of arts that they encompass, that they're just ideal, and I have much more fun than writing maybe a novel, which it would mean a lot of time writing and not doing anything else outside of writing. With TTRPGs, I can do a mechanics bit, I can do a lore bit, I can stop and draw, or I can do some music, etc. It makes it very easy, and just to shift from one task to the other depending on how I feel during the day. So for now, it's mostly games.
Do you write for your games short stories for your own imagination to get into it, or how is your process to get more ideas? And I think you have like many people a block. Then you say, "Oh God, I have no things in mind. I have to free my mind to get more ideas for it."
No, my process tends to be like very free flowing. Like at the start of a the thing is like the start of the project. Once I get the idea for the start of a project, it's just free flowing from there. Um, because everything is tied to the themes that I want to tackle. So if the themes are feelings and identity and debt and obligation, that's it. I have to write mechanics that are about this. I have to write an entire world that communicates these themes. Okay, it's going to be a world made out of like actual feelings, and they're going to have physical form, and it all just evolves naturally from there. As long as I have the thematic axis that I work from, it just all goes from there. I do the outline of the book, and then in any given day, if I feel like writing, I write. If I feel like illustrating, I illustrate. Of course, most of the time I spent is illustrating, because Zephyr in particular is a book that I took the time to illustrate from beginning to end. So it has like 130 spreads, 260 pages, 130 spreads. It's completely fully illustrated, so that's a lot of what takes time there. But as long as I'm enjoying it, I just pick and choose whatever I do any day.
Have you some last words for our audience?
No, get my games.
Okay. Maybe one thing it's about Japan. I am very curious. Have
Yeah.
they conventions like America and Europe?
Yeah, they have Tokyo Games Market, which is a pretty big convention. I think there are smaller conventions than that, but it's not like, I guess, my experience in Europe, which is like every month there seems to be like a convention that's pretty decently sized. I'm not sure if it has to do with like how like stuff is more, doing online stuff and stuff like that. But yeah, Tokyo Games Market is the biggest one as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy our little chit chat.
Yeah.
I have a last thing for you. For me, I'm out here. You can say where the people can find you.
Mm-hmm.
Twitter, Facebook, social media, Discord, you say, of course, and then we finish our stream.
Yeah, sure. So my company is Auracana, which is Araukana. The Twitter is Auracana1, auracana.com for the website. You can get my games on drive-through, the website, itch. You can just Google Nibiru RPG in any case if you want to search for that. And yeah, that's basically where I'm at.
So thank you very much. And
Yeah, thanks for having me.
we are out. Ciao.
Ooh.
Every November, around 1,500 visitors turn into true weekend heroes in the quiet town of Dreieich near Frankfurt, Germany. So, what are we doing? We are a roleplay convention with everything that comes with it. Game rounds, numerous exhibitors like publishers, traders, and illustrators, an extensive program with workshops, readings, and panels, and of course, a coffee and tea flat rate. And you will learn to appreciate the latter because we are open for 32 hours. If you want, and if you can keep your eyes open, you can immerse yourself in fantastic worlds non-stop for a whole weekend. With over 200 pre-registered game rounds, we are also the largest role-playing convention in Germany. But since we know that we can always improve, our team is constantly thinking about new things, such as our latest partnership with GaryCon in the US, or our online events on Twitch and Discord to which the entire world is invited. Curious? Then join us in November.
not over. Die, die, die! This time you will fall before my might. Come on. Yes!
Every November, around 1,500 visitors turn into true weekend heroes in the quiet town of Dreieich near Frankfurt, Germany. So, what are we doing? We are a roleplay convention with everything that comes with it. Game rounds, numerous exhibitors like publishers, traders, and illustrators, an extensive program with workshops, readings, and panels, and of course, a coffee and tea flat rate. And you will learn to appreciate the latter because we are open for 32 hours. If you want, and if you can keep your eyes open, you can immerse yourself in fantastic worlds non-stop for a whole weekend. With over 200 pre-registered game rounds, we are also the largest role-playing convention in Germany. But since we know that we can always improve, our team is constantly thinking about new things, such as our latest partnership with GaryCon in the US, or our online events on Twitch and Discord to which the entire world is invited. Curious? Then join us in November.
Hey, we are here to discuss the Nexor project, which is the project name for the new role-playing game we're developing, which will be, in the end, the world of Discordia. My name is Siggy, and I am in charge of the settings for the world. And I have two of my colleagues here, if they would introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Gary. I'm the Dragon Legion coordinator for the United Kingdom. And as far as the Nexor project and the world of Discordia is concerned, I'm heading up adventures.
Hi, my name is Christian, and I am the Danish National Coordinator for Dragon Legion, and I have been part of the rules development team for the Nexo project.
Yeah, we have the next hour or almost. We're a little bit late. We apologize for that, but there were some technical difficulties with us, and we wanted to talk to you guys about the Nexor project and what that entails. And I will try to force myself to call it the World of Discordia because we're really used to talking about the Nexor. It started off as a small project where we were talking about where we wanted to do a huge siege on a city called Nexor, which is a really big city in our setting. And in 2018, we were at an event where we developed some adventures and had some fun making fun little adventures and playing through them in this huge city, which was closed off due to being under siege by undead armies. And that has developed through time and became a project sponsored by Erasmus Plus. And we are now in development of a massive role-playing game, which we are hoping that will rival the likes of Dungeons and Dragons, but we'll never know. Well, hopefully we'll know in a year or so.
I mean, essentially, isn't it, Ziggy? We're hoping to develop something that is slightly different, that offers our players not just combat, not just traditional setting and races, but actually something that they can really get their teeth into. There's going to be lots of character development. And like Siggy says, although we started off with City of Nexor, we have expanded it a great deal. And we're adding other locations. We're building up the history, which is all set around this thing called the Discordia, hence the world of Discordia.
Yeah, and the Discordia in our world is, I believe, if I'm correct, that it is a massive zone of magic where it is called wild and chaotic, and it's sort of splitting the continents at the moment. And
It kind of, isn't it? It's kind of destroyed or above or was created by some past civilization, which we're deliberately keeping quite vague so that future products and the players can actually have part of the development of what is the Discordia, what happened there, and it's going to be like an ongoing common theme.
yeah, and just to go through a few things, we have a few ideas of like we have big plans for the world and what we want to develop in it, and we're starting with like basic races of like just humans, elves, and dwarves, and later on we will develop it into more races. We have interesting plans that are going to make this world a really unique world where we'll be fighting all sorts of creatures and both undead demons and weird animals and all of the sorts.
I mean, a lot of our monsters and bad guys are going to be undead, aren't they? And demons and things that have got a kind of dark theme that may or may not be linked to the Discordia.
Yeah, and I can give you just the elevator pitch for our world. If you'll give me a second to find it. It is the Discordia setting takes us to scarred lands torn apart by world-shattering scourge. After the world has changed and darkness has consumed entire empires, various factions vie for power and dominance. Some seek more survival, but few want to rebuild and renew their world. Though the task is daunting to say at least. Magical and supernatural creatures spawn in the cursed lands known as Discordia, dangerous wildlands in which the forces of magic are broken. New divine powers have arisen, but not all work for the benefit of mortals. Some have wicked powers and are quite opportunistic. Foul necromancers raise armies of the dead. Demonic princes sweep across the plains in search of souls for their dark lords. And the people need heroes for any chance of survival. So it's really up to the players to develop this world and see how they can affect it and create a better world and see work against these evil forces. And as you may have noticed, it is sort of like a darker fantasy what we're aiming for.
Yeah, and that's the point, isn't it? Things have gone wrong. Night has fallen, and now it's the chance of the players to start picking up the pieces, and they're going to be starting from grassroots. So they're going to be almost normal people who have, for one reason or another, decided in their backgrounds and their prehistories that they want to start rebuilding this world. And they'll be allied to different factions, and they will be discovering what happened and why things are the way they are, and seeing if they can solve that mystery.
And yeah, just to go through a few things here, Tristan, could you tell us like sort of what the design goal is for the rules team right now? Yeah, the design goal.
So yes, I can. One of the design goals has been to make it easy for new players to jump in and play the game and create great stories. So what we try to do is to create some rules that has the initial simplicity, so everyone can quite easily and quickly jump in and create a character and play the game. But as you progress through your collective stories, the rules will sort of expand with your stories. So there's like levels of complexity that you can reach when the more you get to know the rules in the game, the more complexity, the levels of complexity kind of adds up from there.
Yeah, and we're aiming for really cool things, and we at the current stage we have like a really cool stunt system that when you roll like doubles on your dice, that you will get a certain amount of stunt points, which you can be used for all sorts of unique abilities like tripping attack or extra defense or grappling, or maybe not grappling, but use them for like stunts, for like something special.
Yes. So the idea here was to find a way to make combat more dynamic.
Yep.
Because in other games, you often, especially if you are martial melee characters, you often end up with just running up to your enemy, standing there, beating them up, just waiting for your turn so you can attack twice and then moving on, and then waiting again. And we wanted to try and make ways to make the combat more dynamic and more fluid with characters and people moving around a lot in your battle zones.
Yeah, and I believe that at least through the playtesting that has been done so far, it has had great results. And even from players that are really new to the game and are not really rules heavy and interested in rules, they've been enjoying the game, and that shows how simple but complex it is. And just to give you an idea of like what our goal is for that we at the moment we are aiming this game at younger people for the most part, but we still want to have it complex enough to be used by veteran players as well. But a part of this project that we're doing through Erasmus Plus is to make a really cool system that we can create a basic box set, like a starter box set, and we can hand it to schools and
Yeah.
youth workers and stuff like that. And Gary, maybe you can talk a little about like the importance of role-playing games and how they will be used in schools.
Yeah, I mean, I have the luxury of being a teacher, and the way you can use role play to help with literacy and numeracy, but also soft skills like communications, leadership, showing initiative, showing resilience. All of these things we're hoping to get from that box set to recruit another generation of role players, to grab their interest, to give them something they can be creative about, that they can have some control over, and they can sort of see that they can take their imaginations and apply it to real world skills, but doing so whilst having fun and enjoying the magic and the fantasy and the thrills and the mysteries that we hope to build into the game. So although initially we want this to out there so that children as young as 12, 13 can get into role play, it's then going to take them on through whilst they're at school and then stay with them as adults. And that's, of course, where later projects will come in. So the box set, and I think both as Christian and Siggy have said, is going to be aimed at being simple enough that when you first get hold of it, you can get straight on in, that you can understand it, that you can have fun combats where you're coming up with strategies, not just, as Christian said, trading blows and rolling dice, where you get to think. But the same is true of our skills and our magic. It's about giving the young people ownership of their characters so that they're not bogged down in rules that you have to do everything rules as read, where there is some ability to interpret, to build on it, to let them actually drive their characters. So we're not saying as games directors, no, you can't do that, it's not in the rules, no, you can't do this, or let's spend our 1 hour session just fighting each other. It's all going to be about giving them an emphasis to solve problems. You know, it's not just going to be, oh, wizards can only join in during magic, or scholars can only be useful when they need to decode or get runes sorted, or fighters just stand there waiting for something to attack. All the time, everyone is going to be able to engage. They're all going to be collaborative. And that's the other beautiful thing about this project. It's about encouraging people not to compete with each other, but to collaborate so that they're all victorious. Even the games director, who some people might think, oh no, the games director, he's losing or winning. It's not about that. It's about crafting that story that, just like in real life, they can sit around those campfires or sit in those living rooms and discuss what happened, who did what, how they fought that giant spider, how they fought that, oh no, we're all going to lose because 3 of us are trapped in web, and how do we get out of this? And then someone goes, I know, I've got that knife just inside, I can cut my way out. And so the rules on all levels, in all sections, combat, role-playing, magic, they're all going to be geared towards giving the players that chance to actually use their imagination and their initiative to get what they want to do. And the idea is, once we grab them when they're young, we've got them for life. You know, I know a lot of people that when they're at school, they start role playing and then they go get their first job or they go to university and they fall out of role playing. And then maybe if they're lucky, they come back into it later on in life or when they've got kids of their own. We want them forever. You know, there's a term in education, lifelong learning. We want lifelong role playing. And we want these role players to be able to see that it's not just the game they can use these skills, but they can transfer, particularly the interpersonal skills from the game into real life and improve their life chances. And so, as you can tell, that's why I'm really excited about this project.
Yeah, and I have a similar experience through youth work, working with like the teenagers, and when they get older and are finished with their primary schools and high schools, and just keeping them on track, and this helps them so much in their lives and development, and it is really amazing to see these young people go from like being little shy people to being experienced role players and using those soft skills or these real skills to develop and become wholesome
Yeah.
people in the world.
And I think that's part of the key of this, isn't it? And it's why we're being so inclusive. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, when I started the project, when we started the project, there was a few of us, but those numbers have grown. Some people have come and gone. We've brought other people in, and it's really, in that sense, an open system. And people that want to get involved can get involved. They don't even just have to be members of the Dragon Legion. And so we've been having input from our play testers, school children. And the other beautiful thing is that this is multinational. And so it's encouraging people from different countries, bringing their unique perspectives into the game, sharing them. And instead of conflict, which is quite interesting, seeing as role play quite often deals with conflict, this is actually about getting them to cooperate and share that knowledge and those experiences. And I think people from different nationalities sometimes have that slightly different way of looking at things. And when you get to work with people from Denmark and from Iceland and from Germany and so on, you get to pick up on that. And I think it makes you a much more well-rounded person. And those are skills that in the future are going to let people think, yeah, the differences are far outweighed by the similarities, and we can actually embrace difference and use it. And I think, again, our game is intended to embody that, to encourage cooperation and people to share. So once they start the project, through the website that's going to go with the game, they will be able to swap stories, talk about what's going on, and continue to actually shape the world through their actions.
Yeah, and that is a key thing that we want to have in the world. That we want to have the young people or the players shape the world with an online map, and that is a big like reason why how we're trying to avoid making this become just a general fantasy world is that we wanting to have the players have input into the world and having their actions have an impact on the world, and through playing adventures that we will try to get like some feedback and reports afterwards, and what happened in your adventures might have an impact on how the story develops in the rest of the world when the story continues to the next bit.
Yeah, I mean, so like if players end up slaying a thieves guild captain in the city of Nexor, that will have far-reaching effects, and we will use that to inform our future modules and adventures and source books. And so it won't just be that one group kills the thieves guild leader and that's the end of it, that's just their story. It could and will have an effect on the whole campaign going forward, and we will base that in all likelihood on the more we get feedback from our players, which is similar and the same. We will go with like the story that seems to be the one that most people can tell. And again, that's going to give them a link, isn't it? And it's going to give them encouragement to talk about those stories and share. This is how my group killed the Thieves Guild leader. This is how my ones defeated him. This is how we talked him round to our way of thinking. And because we're not going to be having everything set in stone, and because we'll have that that flexibility through input, we can do that. And really, that's where we want as many people to get involved ultimately as possible.
And yeah, just to mention that you can actually get involved, and we are hoping to start public playtesting now in April, I believe we're aiming for. And you can go
Yep.
to our website, thediscordia.com, and through there you can sign up for playtesting. And we are working on setting up playtesting scenarios, which we would like to have tested for each week or each month, or probably each week or something like that. And having your feedback on the rules and what's happening might have an impact on how we develop it forward. There are
Yeah,
several
and a
things.
bit,
There are several things we still need to do, and we would love to have the feedback from the public as well as our inside groups.
and also, just as a shameless plug for the Dragon Legion, we're also from April starting an adventure design workshop where we're going to have people giving talks on how to plan adventures, how to design them, how to hook the interest of your players, then how to keep that interest, and then how to build to a satisfactory conclusion. And if people want to sign up for that, they're more than free to do so. Going on to the dragonlegion.com website, you'll be able to find the links there, see more information, and hopefully some of you will be able to be part of that and come and join those. And we're hoping at the end of it, some of the adventures and the ideas that we talk through during the workshops will be able to be incorporated into the actual Nexor project. And in fact, we're going to be basing it around Nexor and the world of Discordia for the actual talks. And so if we could see as many of you there as possible, that would be absolutely brilliant, because then you get to say that you've had a hand in shaping Discordia. And hopefully we can use some of that for our play testing, so that we can test some of the brilliant stuff that Christian and his group and the rules group are coming up with, to make sure that it fits and that it works and that it's fast and a little bit furious, and that all of that can be done through workshops like this. And I think also, doesn't it, it shows our commitment to getting people involved. We want to give you guys as much as you give us. And so we're already going to start providing opportunities for you guys to learn the skills or perfect the skills or contribute skills through workshops like this. And this is hopefully one of the first that we'll be doing of its kind, which is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, just to address the elephant in the room that you can see behind me here, we have the Dragon Legion, and that is an international group of role players, and our website is dragon-legion.com, and we are originally and have our headquarters based in Europe, but we're slowly spreading to the rest of the world, and we have some American members, and yeah, mostly in Europe, though, and we do a lot of projects using role-playing games as a tool to teach mythologies and skills, and have all sorts of workshops. And like Gary said, we have this adventure design workshop that is coming up, and you can feel free to check it out on our website, and I think it's going to be
And please
great.
do get involved.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of touches on how, doesn't it, how we want to do things differently. We want that level of input, but also with our races and our locations, we're trying to, we are drawing a lot on mythology and the combined mythologies of all the countries involved. so that there's something that you can recognize and that you find familiar. But then we want to take things in a different direction. So we've started with humans, elves, and dwarves, but we're already looking at fox people and saurians, a type of lizard folk, but we're looking at giving them all something slightly different. So our elves are not just Tolkien elves. They've got a different past. Be it some sorts of elves have a caste system that they're beginning to rebel against, and others are more freedom loving, and some want more interaction with the human races and the younger races, whilst others don't. And the idea is that we take the familiar and then give it our own spin on it. Our saurians are just in development at the moment, but for instance, although they're a lizard folk, they're warm-blooded, they live amongst humans, but they have a very black and white idea of the world in general. And so part of the challenge of playing them is that you are one of them that has moved into the real world, the wider world rather, and you're having to adapt and change. Maybe you left because you were a bit different and didn't quite fit in. And so we will start with stereotypes, and then we will challenge them and go beyond those. And it won't just be, oh, this is your evil kingdom, this is your good kingdom. We're not using an alignment system. So characters will be able to make those moral decisions. And of course, we're leaning towards the heroic and, dare I say it, the good. But also because we're going for that collaborative game, obviously characters with at least mostly good morals are going to get on and be able to cooperate more. But you're not going to be hung up on having to, say, be lawful evil or aberrant, or depending on all those different game systems out there with alignments. You'll be free of that, but there will be this encouraged theme throughout of you are normal people or almost normal people, but you're becoming heroes through circumstance, through your personal plot, etc. And that's also really key because it gives you much more control. It's more like a paint palette with different colors that you can mix to get the character that you want, rather than, oh no, I can't lie because I am this alignment, or oh no, I've got to be selfish on this occasion because of that alignment. You have freedom to create your own character portrait.
Yeah, that's what we're aiming for with our characters, and it's gonna be a really diverse and interesting world, and it'll slowly build up into more and more, and all of the races are gonna have interesting backstories behind them, and like Gary said, they're not. We're trying to not to just give them the cookie cutter Tolkien way of dealing with things, and there might be like 2 or 3 versions of a version of each of the races, and they're going to be give interesting flavors of and interesting variations of how they are. You might meet a dwarf that is 2 meters tall, but because he's been living in the outside world so long that he has grown taller out than he could have possibly been in the confines of a mine in the mountains.
And that's the point, isn't it? Just like humans, because usually when you play a fantasy role play game, humans have a wide palette of different nations, ethnicities, and ways of doing things. Whereas the elves and the dwarves in other systems, they tend to be very, oh, it doesn't matter whether they're from the north or from the south, their culture is the same and they're one and the same. Our elves and dwarves won't necessarily be like that, and they will have diversified. And although in our core rules, they may be, you may only get 1 or 2 options to play, as the game expands and as we increase the geography and start looking at more places in the world in more detail, that's when you'll see the little nuances creep in, the differences, the changing cultures. For instance, dwarves in one part of the world may be more into using kilns and pottery and stoneware, whilst other dwarves are masters when it comes to metals, just like traditional dwarves and mining. It will vary depending on the circumstance those races find themselves in. And we, again, because we're going to be drawing more from folklore and legend than just from what Tolkien wrote, we're also going to have some of those diversities. And none of it's really set in stone at the moment, because we're always going through the creation process. And when the playtesting happens and people try stuff out, sometimes it doesn't work and it has to be dropped. And other times you go, no, that's really brilliant. That's got lots of good feedback. Let's include that and see if it works with a wider audience. And that's the other thing. We're constantly going to be developing this till just before publication.
Christian, could you tell us a little bit about what is on the table for right now for the rules team? What are you working on, and what are you trying to develop now for until April at least?
So right now we have been in a process of there's been some proofreading on the initial combat designs, and we're expanding, at least as now, we're fine-tuning the flow of combat to make sure that we get that dynamic feel we're after, and that it is still that we still get the more the deeper strategy elements if you're into that stuff, but that it's easy to it needs to be easy to get into and understand initially, and then as more as you learn, you will kind of see the small strategic elements of the whole how do we fight each other, like you do in real life. If you don't understand how fighting works, it's kind of just people smacking on each other. And when you look more into it, you'll realize that there's like a lot of strategy involved in where you're placed, how you stand, what you do compared to other people. And then we're probably going to expand on character creation before April to make sure that it's equally easy to get into, because character creation is, in my opinion, more important than the combat needs to be fluid and all, but you can't fight unless you have a character to fight with, right? So
yeah,
we need a nice, easy way of people for them to express what they want to play in the game without having to read 300 pages of how to make a character.
yeah, that is very important. We're trying to make character creation quite simple, so like you said, you don't need to read a 300-page guide to be able to create one character. And we're still in discussion of how character creation is going to work, but I think it's going to be really interesting, and we're gonna, for the playtesting, and it's gonna hopefully start in April. We're gonna both have a few cookie cutters, pre-made characters, and we also want to like run through the playtesting how character creation works, and we will be developing through different scenarios, and hopefully each week we'll have a different scenario for you to test through and play through and develop with us.
I think what Christian says is absolutely right. From my point of view as a teacher and someone who works with young people, they want to get their character concept in their head onto paper as soon as possible and then begin playing it. And I think a lot of the other stuff is a secondary consideration. and having a rule system and a combat system and all that that's flexible enough to meet what's going on in their head. I mean, yes, you need a framework and you need rules, but yeah, you want people playing characters that they like and they're happy with. And even if they can't have the perfect character to begin with, they can see that through play, they'll get there eventually and they'll have the character that they want.
Yeah. And I think that's especially important when our main target group is a younger audience. Because there is, of course, people who want to, when they get into something, they're like, yeah, I want to read the 350-page book to get to know every nook and cranny of this system. A lot of young people will do that after they are hooked. So you need to have the initial discovery of, oh, I can be whoever I want to be. I can do whatever I want to. It's like all of my favorite computer games, but here I have absolute freedom. And I can tell whatever story I want, and not just the stories written by the game creators. I can tell the stories with my friends that we want to tell. I think that's super important, that it is easy to get to that stage, because afterwards you're more ready to put in the time to get to know all the nooks and crannies of all the rules, so you can fine tune whatever it is you want, and get the exact character you want to.
Totally.
Yeah, and it's gonna be interesting to see what kind of characters people can come up with, and hopefully we can create a world where we can have a lot of creativity flowing through all of our stuff, and it is a part of our design goal for this project that we are going to be publishing adventures regularly for people to play through, and when we are officially have officially like finished our initial project, that we will go into the next phase of supporting with adventures, and we have a really good adventure team working on adventures, and there's a lot of fun things that are in development, and we've had a few Dragon Legion projects that have been evolved around creating adventures, getting young people for a week sitting together, developing adventure, playtesting it a little bit, and that is going further into development and becoming a larger scale adventures that can be run through our system.
Completely. And I think our initial box set, isn't it, Siggy? It's going to have the core rules. It's going to have some monsters. It's going to have like a gazetteer with a snapshot of the world with a few places developed, but it's going to have those initial adventures to get people started, to whet the appetite and to make people want to carry on. And as Siggy said, in the workshops, it's although we're aiming this at young people, we've brought in experienced adult role players as well to help guide them and give suggestions. And I've got to say, as someone who's participated in those workshops, what's brilliant is it refreshes your own enthusiasm, and it also sometimes points you in directions that you hadn't considered before. And so one of the other good things about the workshops is that even those of us facilitating them, we get to come away and have learned something new as well, which is absolutely marvelous.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason they have the saying "out of the mouth of babes." Sometimes you can get the most the better inspirations and honesty from the younger people than you can get out of your own damn head.
Yeah, and I think we live in a time with young people having even more stimulus than they've ever had before, be it computer games or anime and manga, be it what's coming out of Hollywood. They've got more access to all of this than ever before. And sometimes they put it together in ways that we wouldn't even think of. And that's also definitely something for us to draw on, embrace.
I think we're about at our end of the stream right now. So if there's anything final that my colleagues want to say, that we have a little bit of time now before we need to wrap up.
Just that this project is new, it's dynamic, and hopefully it's inclusive. And we can't wait to be working with loads of different people to realize this project and make it work. And I'm looking forward to seeing it in schools, but also the tabletops of other people as well.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah. And how you can get involved is going to thediscordia.com, and there you can sign up, and we'll be sharing more information soon and in April about the playtesting, and you can check us out there. So I think that's about wraps up the time that we have, and I just want to thank Gary and Christian for joining me on this, and I'm Siggy, just to remind people. And thank you for watching, and I hope we can see you as a part of our adventure creating this incredible world.
Every November, around 1,500 visitors turn into true weekend heroes in the quiet town of Dreieich near Frankfurt, Germany. So, what are we doing? We are a roleplay convention with everything that comes with it. Game rounds, numerous exhibitors like publishers, traders, and illustrators, an extensive program with workshops, readings, and panels, and of course, a coffee and tea flat rate. And you will learn to appreciate the latter because we are open for 32 hours. If you want, and if you can keep your eyes open, you can immerse yourself in fantastic worlds non-stop for a whole weekend. With over 200 pre-registered game rounds, we are also the largest role-playing convention in Germany. But since we know that we can always improve, our team is constantly thinking about new things, such as our latest partnership with GaryCon in the US, or our online events on Twitch and Discord to which the entire world is invited. Curious? Then join us in November.
Welcome and welcome back to the European stream for GaryCon Online here. My name is Gerard Kraus. I'm from LuxCon, as you can see, and I am very pleased, very happy to be joined by Manuel Neuner, who is working with Thorsten Loh Verlag, and we're together for an hour of looking at their product and their editor's house. Hello, Manuel.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Gerard. Welcome to our stream. Hello to the viewers of America. Yes, we are talking about Verlag Thorsten Loh and his plans and what happened in the Corona or the COVID seasons. So we start with a few review of what happened in COVID and when we now it's starting in the normal life with our publisher. So the first of all, we are a small publisher. We are selling books in a small range of books, but we are specialized in anthologies. So Thorsten Loh has much anthologies, and now we have started for 3 years with our first role-play game. Our role-play game is based on a romance we are published in our system. So it's called Herbstlande. It means autumn lands. The autumn lands have 3 areas: September, October, November. So in these 3 areas is the land concentrate, and we have 3 books, 2 anthologies, 2 novels, and we sell it on our homepage. And now we have for 3 years we had the decision we make a small roleplay game. It's a starting roleplay game for kids or newbies. So we started with this because we want to take a bridge from the books to the roleplay and roleplay to the books. So we want this both sides of the books and roleplay game come together. And I think it's a little bit of franchise.
Okay, well, that's something that is done. Can you say a little bit more about the world of the game, of the books?
Yes, we can see it. It's like a maple leaf. And you can we have also the Herbstlande. There are 3 areas with the monthly September, October, November, and so every area is expected in this month. In September you have leaves, or in November you get a bit colder, and the story is a young girl had a friend, and the friend get sick, and she have to rescue him in a walk to through the Herbstlande. And when you see it on the cover, there is a dragon, but it's not normal dragon. It's a dragon from leaves. So we have also a journal about the Herbstlande where all characters on, where the special animals were congregated seat. Perhaps I can show you the dragon. Wait a second, but it's a very it's a huge area, and in the book every month is written from another author. So we have not one book with one author. So every month is written from another author. So you have a little bit. Everyone is written his part of the history.
That's a cool idea.
And, yes, and we have also it's not one author for the complete area. So it's every story is from another author. We have the novels are from other author is from author who is don't written on the Herbstlande book. So it's we try to connect the complete franchise with different authors. So that's the magic, because it's not like a story. One writer, he writes the book, he writes the journal, he writes the novels, he writes the short stories. It's everything from other, but it's also all authors are members of the Love family, and
That's brilliant. Yeah.
because it's very important to see what happened when the guys are the guys are working together, not against.
Yeah.
So perhaps I can show you. So this is the Leaf Dragon. It's and this is the paintings from our journal. So you see, it's our we make a very interesting world, and also we plan like the months. We also plan games, role play games for every month. And the big plan is, I think we take take journey who can build everyone for himself. But
Okay.
it's very the first is very slow. It's you can play it with kids. You can start, but I think the monthly games will be a bit more for roleplay gamers.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay.
So
That sounds great.
yeah, it's not a joke. It started with a dream of Thorsten Love.
And as we know, what Thorsten dreams up becomes
Yes,
reality eventually, right?
The myth means when Thorsten Love take a stand, you have a convention.
That's right. That's right. That's what we experienced as well. Brilliant. Okay. You promised some insight into what your guys' publishing house went through during the pandemic. Can you tell us a little bit how you functioned, what went on before, well, until 2019? What did your business model, what did your reality look like?
It was a catastrophic because our business model is not an online selling model. It's a convention thing, a convention thing. When Thorsten and I understand, you have seen it in life. We sell our books and we sell it with love, and you can't transportate love in the internet. We have a very huge. People who sell before when you get a new book, he buy it, but it's not our kind of business. So we did. What did we start? We did start. Thorsten make a YouTube channel where he talking about what happens in the publishment. What weird question you get as a publisher. It's very nice. And you have also some guests on it. But it's not nothing against go to conventions 40 times in the year.
Yeah, it doesn't come.
This is what's the problem is when you're a small publisher. You need the people. You can't go make a market like the big publishers. You buy on our online shop. We have not the range for online. The online business is okay, but we have the range after with the conventions. And we also met in 4 months. We have LBM, Leipziger Buchmesse. It's the biggest convention in the book sector, like Frankfurt, but it's for Frankfurt is a very belletristic means, and here you have the normal guys. And Thorsten also live near Leipzig. He was born near Leipzig, so it's for him a home game. So it's very important for us. And this, every LBM, this guy comes and he buy the books because they know love is there, and they come and buy the books. And this is very interesting. But it's not also in LBM, it's in every convention. He said, oh, I have to take these new books because these guys are coming and buy the books.
Yeah.
But when you are in COVID, you have not the market. So we tried something, a YouTube channel. It was very nice, but it's not the normal. And we have also made a little convention with YouTube films called ErkerCon, because on Thorsten's house we have an Erker where we can sit and talk about and we have made a Sunday brunch, but you can't hold it. You can't, you know what I mean.
Oh yeah. It's ephemeral. You can't just. It doesn't compare to the other stuff, right?
And the next decision is we have planned to put books on LBM 2019. We can't, because these books will be planned with go on this market and let's go. So we also make some online conventions, DryCon, very good conventions online, but we have also other conventions. I think it was not good. You have seen there are 20 people and nothing happened.
Yeah. I mean, the LuxCon went through the online bit as well, and it doesn't compare to the actual thing in the end. And I'm pretty sure that translates to what vendors experienced during those couple of months. Yeah.
I think it's a people thing, because I think people want this. I want to go outside and have an impression, like going food, like looking a football game. This is the happening. It's not what happens under the happening, but when I go in my PC room or working room and put the PC on, there is nothing happened. And there's I said it always when I go to my home team. I want to eat my sausage and talk with the people, not looking football in the soccer in German, looking soccer. We want happening. We want to talk with the guys who give me my sausage. I want to drink some coffee with my friends, or drinking some drinks, and this is the happening. Not what happened on the. It's the first step is the happening. The second step is what happens on the football ground.
Yeah, I definitely get that. You want to have the people there, and what goes around is secondary. It's almost like people go there for people. We had the anecdote that people were like, oh yeah, the convention's not so great. People really only go there for other people. And as a convention organizer, of course, you go, well, that's why we organize it, to have you meet people that you see, that you might only see at the event, right? And that translates to what you said earlier, that you're going to get your customers coming to your booth and pick up the books that they know they will get from you. They expect, they know what kind of books that you're going to be able to provide, and that's why they come back, and that's why they keep coming back, right?
Yes, that's. I think it's also when we this 2.5 years, we have some book project who put it after COVID, because we have no market for this. We have 1-2 books who said we can make it, because these books are from authors, Vincent Voss, German horror author. we can make it because we know he has a range. When we publish a Vincent Voss, we know we get much buying lists also online because he's very good. He has a fan base who knows. But we have books. We can't take a book with a new one because he has no market. So you have to establish the market. You establish the market on conventions because we are reading. You have reading slots where you can read the new one, and some guys, oh, sounds good. I want to buy it.
Yeah.
And Thorsten is very huge, and his reading, he's very emotional. He can transport it, but you can't transport it online.
Yeah.
It's a nice. It was very good for this time, but now I think it will be getting down because the guys want the happening.
Yeah, you definitely want the live events. You want people to be there, and I think the majority of people are quite happy to return back to in-person conventions and to be able to talk to publishers, to their favorite artists, and to the friends that they're going to be able to meet at those conventions. That's true. Yeah.
Yes, I have seen it. I was last year on DreiecCon, and we always get with our friends. We always get in the same. We get in the hotel together. We eat together. We have fun together. We go to the convention, and we talk about, and we go home and eat together and have some fun. It was surreal. It was so, and this is what I said. I want some nice remembers.
Yeah, you have the memories are
Yeah.
what counts, right? And you're
Yes.
not going to be able to make those memories online.
Yes, but I can film it up and looking in 20 years ago and said what they talking about these guys.
You can use your direct brain interface and then
Yes.
use that way. Okay, so what does it look like now that the pandemic is generally behind us? What is up from you guys besides the game that we've talked about already, and we'll get back to in a second.
Okay. What happened? Yeah, I think it will be the most of us will be we get new books on the market. We are starting with our new pen and paper. We have also another pen and paper project. I think I have talked last year about it, but it's not a pen and paper project like you think about a pen and paper project. It's a book. It's an escape room. We try it in an escape room scenario, but it's a decision book. For example, lustige Taschenbücher in Germany with Donald Duck and so. They have some books where you said, when you go to the window, read on side 5.
Yeah, the choose your own adventure kind of books.
Yes. Yeah. So we tried an escape room in this like. It also it's also in the North universe because we have some books about it, and now we try it in this way to get in decision books.
Okay.
This is one project. Then we have the 3 adventures of Herbstlande for the 3 months. They are also in progress. So I think this year will be a good advice to I think we hope we can publish out with Nordcon or DreiecCon.
Okay.
Because these are our fixed terms where make for us sense to publish roleplay books because it's the 2 biggest conventions in Germany about roleplay games.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps we can test it on sometimes, or maybe we can play some rounds on these conventions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it's the easiest way to do it for you. To go out to the conventions, give some demos, show people what the world and what the system has to offer, and then bring it around to here's the book, buy it. Brilliant.
Here's the roleplay. Take the books.
Absolutely, that's how you get them. Do you have fun? Yeah. You want to have more fun? Here's the book where you can have more fun with, or that you can have more fun with.
Do you want more?
Yes. Would you like to have more fun?
Sorry, now I have this Starship Troopers scene. Do you want read more?
Exactly. That's the one. Yeah. You need to have little cards. Maybe. Do you want more? Here's the flyer for the book. Okay. So why this shift to role playing games? Why turn your attention to role playing games? I think you hinted at a couple of things, but let's talk about the elephant in the room.
It's logical. We are
Good. Okay. Next question.
It's because we have romance, we have short stories, we have novels, we have very good universes in our Verlag Torstendorf, Herbstlande, Paul with his science fiction, but he's dead 2 years ago.
Yeah, he passed away. Yeah.
Adrian Pure. He was a very good science fiction author, and I want a roleplay game in this universe.
Oh yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, but we when you go to our in the internet, or if you stand for your stand on a convention and you see, wow, we have this. Hey, what is the next step? Roleplay. It's because we are going on. Torstendorf was one of the first publishers on roleplay convention who sold no roleplay games. He was the first NordCon, for example, Dragon. Here, everything is about roleplay, and in Torstendorf stand they make a stand. I sell books.
Yep, he sells narrative. Yeah, absolutely.
And so he decided. We have a very nice universe. It's very magical. It's very emotional. Why we make a roleplay game about it? And we have friends who Philip Lohmann has written the roleplay game. Who said, "I want to write a roleplay game because I love the universe." And then it started. Yeah, okay. And then I said, "Hey, how much it costs? We take it." So it's very important for us to take the bridge. We want products in our system, and we will roleplay in the system. I'm not a big roleplay gamer. I like roleplays. I play with my group, but I don't play much D&D or DSR. I like the stories. I have bought a huge, Hexen from Ulrich?
Yeah, absolutely.
I only buy it about the story because I like the setting. I don't want to play it. It's too no. I want to read the stories, and this is for me roleplay. I like the stories. I also have bought, for example, Warhammer. I like the stories. I don't like to play and make a character. I want to hear the stories, and this is what we try to make a good story, make a good roleplay game. It's a good roleplay game.
Absolutely.
You don't need 6 sides of characters. You don't need it. You need a good roleplay game. And a roleplay game starts with a good stories. And we have the stories. We need the roleplay game.
Yeah. Yeah, because the
And
story is what is going to stay with you. The stories
yeah,
is what you're going to take away. Just like we said earlier, you need the memories from playing with your friends, and the memory is not going to pin you down to, oh, it was that system that we played and we rolled that. No, it's going to be the narrative aspect of it that is going to stay with you. I mean, I know in Luxembourg there is a story that goes around, and there are 2 or 3 different role-playing groups that claim that the story happened at their table. It's a legendary thing, and nobody really knows what table it was played at, and that's the power of the stories, right? And if
yeah,
you're a publishing house and you sell stories, then of course the next step is going to be, well, yeah, let's go into role playing games.
I think it's like I'm in my hometown. I have a very good. I'm a president of the football club, so I take always sports anecdotes. You don't know how much wins we have, but you don't know the final score in the last minute of a game. You don't know how many passes he played. You don't know how many wins, how many people were there. You know this one goal, and
Yes.
that's the story. Not the statistics. It's the story.
Yeah.
Uh, Nobody talks about within a role play game. Oh, you have fought 10 times the changement, as they talk about, oh, do you know you've fall about a wine carafe or so. That's the story. And I think it's very important to make good stories, not to make good systems.
Mhm.
But a good system and a good story would be great.
If it goes hand in hand, that
Yeah,
makes
yeah,
it even better, right? It's the egg laying, milk producing pig that the Germans always talk about, right?
yes.
So what has been the feedback that you guys have gotten on your role playing game? What have
Um,
you heard from people who've played it? How's it going?
we have tested in much rounds, and we played on DreichCon for 3 years ago. And I think it will positive because it is will be. I have talked to a role play gamer. He said, "Oh, well, you have role play games. I know you have good books. Let's talk about role play." And he said to me, "Oh, it's so nice. I can play a game with my daughter."
Mm,
That's for me the best. You can play it with 100 times. When you find something, you find something. But when a father said to me, "Hey, it's so nice. I want to play it with my daughter. I can play it with my daughter." It's really the best. You know what I mean?
yep,
It's
absolutely.
it's. I think it's not the best system. It's not, but the story. It's small. You come in and you when you have, for example, my brother and his girlfriend. They don't play role play games. But I think we play some. Andor, it's a Brettspiel,
Yep.
and we
Legend of
like it.
Andor, yeah.
Yes, we like it, and perhaps sometime this is would be my first opinion to say, hey, do you want some pen and paper? We take this because
Absolutely.
it's linear, it's cool, but it's simple. And when the bridge to the books is make it simple.
Yeah.
um, it's like technique skills. You're starting with some simple, and then you get better.
Yeah, and you don't need 500 pages of rules to get started. In fact,
We have
that's going to be
50.
counterproductive, right?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to play, but first we
And
have to read these 500 pages.
yes, if you want to start your video recorder, read the manual of 200 pages. Humor.
Yeah.
We want a one shot, and it's a one shot.
Hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
important because when you got the first roleplay game on the market, Thorsten Lauf, it's must be simple because we want the readers to transfer in the roleplay. And when we got a 500 pages book, everyone said, "Oh, it's for collectors, not for me."
Yeah, that's what you get.
Yeah.
Let's see. So we've got the Choose Your Own Adventure game coming out. We've got the role-playing game already. Can you tease the adventures that you talked about earlier? Do you know what area they're heading into?
I think we have monthly, August, October, November. But I don't read anything because the first step. This is a little bit different to other systems. The first step, we have roleplay writers who write the roleplay game, and then we send it to the authors of the first Herbstlande Roman, because it's the universe of these guys. And then when he said, okay, this is okay for you, then we read it, we means Thorsten and I, and then we take a lecturation or correctoration. But the first step, we have the writers have written, but now it's in it's like, for example, you write a book and send to George Lucas and said, is it in the Star Wars universe? This is just
Yeah.
this is a little bit different to other, because they make a idea and write the game and finish. We have to ask about it with the original writers, and I think it's very good because it's their universe. It's not the universe of another one. They have the final decision.
Yeah. And
So-
whoever gets it is going to get something that is okay, that is approved by the author of the original story as well.
Yes, and I think it's very important. It's for the roleplay writers. It's very because the normal way is not, because you have one step between the normal step. But I think it's okay because we have a universe, and you have to. The decision is of the authors of the universe.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we have not. I have not written. I have a few sites, but I have not the complete scene now. But I think we get it in the next few months or few weeks. But for us, it's before LBM, we get everything. We have to publish books. We have to read. We have to take the final steps, because this is our start, and it's 1 month later, but it's not better for us.
No matter where you move it, there's always going to be crunch time about a month before things, right?
Now it's money time.
Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
now we start with the money.
Absolutely.
So Thorsten has written me an email. Yes, because he wants
word from the boss. Let's see.
Yes, because we want the new romance and the decisions. First of all, the new horror roman of Vincent Voss. It's The Flyman. But it's only in German. We have no description in English. Then we have a horror from Dark Fichtelgebirge. Fichtelgebirge is in an area in Germany. From Sarina Wood. Then we have news of the Autumn Lands. So the story goes on.
Nice.
It's fantastic romance with I think it's anthology.
Okay, right.
So it's the next in the huge area of Herbstlande.
That's wonderful.
Then we have Witch Heart. It's it's local crimi. Mara Laue is a very nice lady who writing crimies with vampires, and it's very nice. And we've been waiting for this romance a few years.
Oh, okay. So that has been one that's been in the pipeline for a little while. Okay.
Yes, Mara Laue they have a huge fan base in this area, and so we like it, and we hope she's writing for more because they are very nice romance. Okay, then we have another short book. This is the fifth of the album Abaddons. It's six.
The House of Abaddon. Yeah.
I've seen it perhaps in our program. We have now the fifth Roman. It's called Vindicta. It's a post-apocalyptic Roman area setting. A little bit Mad Max, but also it's Mad Max. The former generations were like 2200, and then the fall down came. Not like Mad Max. It will be the apocalypse will be later.
Okay.
So for example, you find that the complexes are cleaner. There are robots. There are holograms in the normal areas, not in the sister. So it's I think it's 2002, and it will collapse, and so, and this is the fifth roman. It's 60 sides per book. It's very nice. I like it because it's I'm looking for a roleplay game.
Yes, it sounds like something that you might want to turn into. It sounds
Yes,
very, I don't know, Gamma World, that type of thing. Yeah,
cyberpunk.
it's interesting. Yeah.
So
Yeah, particularly since we have the apocalypse happening later, so you don't have people running around in V8 and with V8 engines, but actually being faced with advanced technology.
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
And also we have Generations. It's the Story Olympiad will be on the BookCon. You have these are from young authors who have written short stories, and the best one getting in one book, and Thorsten is publishing him. But he the Story Olympiade is you can write, and there are 5 guys who decide where got in the book.
Okay, so you've got the jury going on there.
Yes, it's a jury, and you don't have published anything before.
Okay, so this will be your first published short story for these people.
Yes, you have some little stories, but you have no. For example, when you have written a book, you can't go to a story Olympiad because you are too much. So we got some guys who get new in this one, and they go in our. They are now authors in our publisher. So, and the last one is a cyberpunk romance. It calls Source Code. It's from Marcus K. Corp. But we don't publish it on LBM. We publish it on MarburgCon. It's a short horror convention where you can take the Vincent Prize, for example. It will be published.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So how very very much books and projects in our system, but we must see what happened. Perhaps we have a complete changement in the roleplay area. Then we must see what happened.
Yeah, I mean, keep an eye on things. Well, it seems like the your publishing house is dynamic. You're publishing across all kinds of genres, and you have all kinds of readers that are going to be doing the things that you do. There's potential for various genres, for various game worlds, for various story worlds to come in and have their role to play as well, right? Do you get any feedback from your readers now that you have a role-playing game for their favorite story world to be turned into a game?
we are still now working. We have now in our in our program line some Asia romance, and now we are talking about we are talking with the authors of this romance, how it looks like. Do you want something in this area? I think the first step in this complex system is to ask the author, do you want this? Perhaps an author says, no, I don't want it. Then the feedback of the readers, we don't the readers don't see it like this. They see, okay, you have good books, you have a good a short role play game. They don't have the connections to see, oh, I just want a role play game. But the first step is to ask the author, do you want a role play game in your area, as in your universe?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of course it's easier if they are familiar with what's going on there. It's I know a number of authors who clearly say that if they hadn't role played when they were younger, they wouldn't have become authors, because it's such a creative endeavor, and it's sort of very yeah. I mean, it's story based, and once you're in there, you can just sort of dream up new stories and do new things. Okay, so that's good.
Yeah, I think it's just the first step is to you have first of all you have an author, then you have a lector, and then you have a corrector, and then you get your roman published. So
yeah.
Then you have a roman published, and then you come in the next step. The next step means, hey, you have a good roman, and we like it, but now we want to tune it in a role play, and that the authors often can write role play games because they don't know the mechanics. It's not. You are a good author means not that you're a good role play game author.
They're two different things. Yeah, I mean,
So we
you
need a
can flesh out your
connection.
worlds.
So you have an author who is starting, oh God, the electorate. Oh, I'm kidding, I'm killing him. And then, oh, contractorate. Oh, the next step. And now you have your book on publishment, and then somebody comes, okay, we like it. Here is a new author. He's written your story. It's very, very difficult.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because authors are it's like art. When you're building painting something, and then somebody comes, oh, some red, some green, some blue. Nobody wants this. It's mine.
Absolutely,
so you have
yeah.
Here's your but I make a copy and I'm writing then. That's the I don't. That's a very, very, very hard way for everyone.
Yeah, I do believe that's pretty difficult, because it's as you said, it's your piece of art, and you don't want anybody to mess with it. At the same time, I think it's pretty flattering for the author to hear that people are asking for this world that they have created to be populated by different characters that want to do different things in that world, right? Because when you read and the world of the story is fleshed out, you're going to have these ideas of, oh, what if this happened and what if that happened? And if the author is not going to go back and write more books in that world, then as role players, we can take up that mantle and just sort of pull stories off and pull things off in that very same world.
Yes, but I think it's like when you want to make some books filming. I don't see it's very huge books were very nice films, but they don't say they don't for you. So it's I have, for example, said 500 books, and you want we have to check the market, make it sense. And first of all, we need a guy who is writing a roleplay game in this universe. The next step is to talk about it with roleplay gamers. Do you want this? And I think it's a problem when you, for example, you have written a very good book, and you make a film about it. Most of the readers will be said, I don't explain this guy in this form, for example. So it's very difficult to, but nobody is talking about, hey, do you think about a roleplay game? So we decide, okay, what makes sense to have a roleplay game? I don't need when you have a complete universe like Herbstlande, it makes sense because you have 3 books, you have this, you have a journal. It's very important to make it. But for example, when you have a Conan universe, then it don't make sense to make a roleplay game because they are very good roleplay games. That's the problem. Like have this to set the customer wants. But we hope then some customers said, hey, I like this, because then you can talk to the autobots. Your fans want it.
Yeah, it's not us who want it. Clearly, your fans want it. I mean, aren't you going to give?
We don't need it, but
yes,
fans.
Aren't you going to give your fans what they want? Come on.
Yeah.
We're just a mediator between you two.
Yeah, we have we have some guys said, you need it, but we don't need it.
Yeah.
But we have very nice universes like Herbstlande. You have Abaddon's is a very nice universe. I think it will be happened, but it's time, because you need every roleplay game needs a system. You need to create this, perhaps to make your own system. Perhaps you talk about the same system with the other system, for example, and these are little steps. And these little steps, you have to connect the roleplay gamer to the author and said, he's writing a roleplay game for your universe. Are you interested in? And then you have he writing the roleplay game. He sends to the authors are reading. There are more little steps between, like a normal roleplay game. That's what happened.
That's the richness of it all as well. I mean, that's the richness of the media that we're sort of evolving in, where you can do all those things. Okay, we are in the last couple of minutes here. Manuel, is there anything else that we haven't talked about yet that you want to get out to the world?
We are trying to get some the roleplay game Herbstlande in English. That's the next step. Because the German, I said the German market, but it means this German speaking market it's a small market. Perhaps when we are trying to check the offers of get something in English and how we can publish it, because we have not we are a small market, we have not the money to fly to America, to England, and publish it in real life. So I think we are talking about perhaps a download system market, or in this way. But it's in small steps, because you need a very good roleplay gamer who is speaking English. For example, I am a friend of mine. He's playing roleplay games in English. He's my master in my roleplay game. I think we can. He's trying to translate it, but we will see. We must talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the possibilities are there these days to get that bridge build, I guess. And if the world is there, if the system is there, I'm pretty sure that people are quite keen to actually explore what's going on in those areas.
But it will be also the small version with 50 sites, because I don't want a 500 translation.
Yeah, I know.
It's very hard.
Okay. All right. So we're looking at Thorsten Loh Verlag. We've heard all of the things that you're publishing and that you're about to publish because of the Leipzig Book Fair that is coming up in a month's time. We've learned that you are an editing house that is going to conventions, and you're selling there. So if anybody is interested, you're going to have to come to German or to German speaking conventions and meet the team there, and then pick up their
We
stuff
can
at
also
that point
talk
in time.
about LuxCon.
You can
We
also
we
come
we
to
are also on
LuxCon.
LuxCon, yeah.
You can also come to LuxCon, of course. That's why I use German speaking. You can come to LuxCon because Thorsten and the team are going to be there, and they are always a great asset to have, shall I say. I mean, Thorsten is the life of the party, shall we say.
Yes.
And he's always busy talking to people and always busy trying to sell you stuff in a lovely way, not in the sleazy American
Yes,
car
yes, yes.
salesman kind of way.
No.
Yeah, no, they're really nice people to be around, and I know that the quality is there as well. So if you're ever looking for anything in any of the genres that we've described today, then they are the people for you to buy from.
Yes.
Right.
Here,
if
when you
that's
ask friendly, he's reading on the books on the stand.
exactly,
Yes,
yes,
it's
yes.
very nice.
You'll get the one-on-one reading performance there.
I love it. I love it. What he's making, he's reading. Okay, let's go.
No, that's good stuff. Okay. Manuel, thank you so much for being here. I think
No problem.
we can call it quits here at this point, and then we'll move on to the next program point, which starts in about 4 minutes. Thank you very much. Thanks everybody
Bye.
for watching. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bis dann.
Every November, around 1,500 visitors turn into true weekend heroes in the quiet town of Dreieich near Frankfurt, Germany. So, what are we doing? We are a roleplay convention with everything that comes with it. Game rounds, numerous exhibitors like publishers, traders, and illustrators, an extensive program with workshops, readings, and panels, and of course, a coffee and tea flat rate. And you will learn to appreciate the latter because we are open for 32 hours. If you want, and if you can keep your eyes open, you can immerse yourself in fantastic worlds non-stop for a whole weekend. With over 200 pre-registered game rounds, we are also the largest role-playing convention in Germany. But since we know that we can always improve, our team is constantly thinking about new things, such as our latest partnership with GaryCon in the US, or our online events on Twitch and Discord to which the entire world is invited. Curious? Then join us in November.
This is not over. Die, die! This time you will fall before my might. Come on. Yes!
Hello, GaryCon Online. Welcome back to the stream live from Europe. We're together with Laura Hoffmann. She's here to talk a little bit about Game On, which is a crowdfunding platform over here in Europe. And yeah, let's get right to it. Hello, Laura. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank
How
you
are
so
you
much for
doing
having
today?
me. Thank you. I'm doing great. I'm really happy to be here. I got a chance to moderate another stream at GaryCon yesterday, and it's my first way to be able to participate at GaryCon, and so I'm really happy to be able to talk about Game On today. Thank you so much for having me, Gerard.
That's great. Okay, let's get straight into it. Game On. What are we talking about? What is it? What does it do? And will it get us flying cars?
Flying cars? Who knows? Everything is possible. So Game on Tabletop is a crowdfunding platform for gamers, by gamers. It was funded in 2013. Initially, the technology behind it was created in 2013 by a French RPG publisher, Black Book Editions, who wanted to get into crowdfunding back then. And there was like Kickstarter was not really available in Europe or with big limitations. And so they just went ahead and said, hey, let's do our own platform. And so it was from the beginning thought out and crafted out to do crowdfunding for tabletop publishers, specifically back then RPGs. And so in 2017, we decided to open this up and make it available to the entire world, and also to open it up to other types of games, board games, miniature games, like anything around our tabletop hobby. And so, yeah, that's what it's still today, and what it continues to be and to grow is be a hub for creating new projects and making new tabletop dreams come true for creators and gamers.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what were the first couple of projects that you funded on there? I mean, you talked about Black Book Editions. What kind of products did they launch on there that people might know?
So yeah, Black Book obviously started out with their own projects. The very first one was a project called Pavillon Noir. It's a pirate game, a very historic pirate game that has not yet been translated into other languages, but should be, in my opinion, at some point. And then started out with other projects like Polaris, which was later on translated into English as well. And quickly started also to host projects from other French creators, smaller projects starting out and then more and more. And also actually had a partnership very soon on with the German RPG publisher Ulysses Spiele, who then hosted it on their own website for their own project and started out there. So this was where like really the beginnings, right? Before it then all combined through the brand Game on Tabletop on a multilingual platform.
Okay. That sounds wonderful. So, what are the advantages of crowdfunding today, from the professional's point of view?
For me, I'd say crowdfunding has become a real sales channel in the tabletop industry specifically. Crowdfunding does exist in all type of different industries, but it's very different in the tabletop industry because it's a real pre-order, pre-purchase sales channel, and yeah, it's much less about prototypes and then let's see how it works out. People are expecting games to be quite advanced and quite finished to be able to be crowdfunded. The big advantage is obviously that anybody can technically launch a crowdfunding campaign, and so you can be a tiny publisher, just a one-person idea, and go ahead and crowdfund. And obviously, that opens up the market and makes the market accessible for people who might not otherwise have the means to get into distribution or to reach out to as many people. For bigger publishers, it also helps them to actually invest in projects that might be too risky otherwise, and that's still a reality. So I often get people telling me, yeah, but why do big publishers use it? Because they should have the funds to just release it. That's not as true as it sounds, because our market still stays niche and there is still a lot of risk involved, and a lot of games would not actually get released if crowdfunding wasn't around. And so it has become a real part of the sales ecosystem of the tabletop industry nowadays. There are publishers who entirely exclusively go through crowdfunding. There are publishers who use both. Obviously, there are also still publishers who just go through regular distribution. But yeah, it has really become, for me, like one of the pillars of sales distribution in the tabletop space, and specifically for anything that's less mainstream, right? That are not the huge evergreen games.
Yeah, absolutely. It really has sort of fueled our culture to a point where we see diversity now that would not have been possible before, right? I mean, it's thanks to crowdfunding that we have this sort of wide variety that was previously dominated by a few players in the market. Here's the pitch. How is Game On different from other crowdfunding sites?
So, like I said, the first part is that obviously it was built from people that are from the industry and only with this industry in mind. So we don't, like, even when people approach us about video games, we're like, hey, that's not our main core. That's not where we're best at. The best is tabletop games, so anything role-playing, board games, miniature games, or anything that's around that, like board game shops or stuff like that. So with that comes obviously our expertise, so people won't be just left all alone. We always try to take the time to at least have one call of an hour, figure out where we can help, and also then we're always open for questions around the overall struggles, right, that come with creating a tabletop game in all its different varieties, production or shipping or anything else. If we can help, we will try to help there, and I think that's a very important part. Then obviously also the whole back-end interface is built with that in mind, because crowdfunding platforms, as they originally started out, well, it was about getting donations, and so it was to have something simple and just have like a click and you put in the amount of money you want to have. Tabletop crowdfunding does not work like that. Tabletop crowdfunding is actually pre-orders, where you need to be able to specify, I want this game, and I want this expansion, and I want this exclusive dice set, and I want exactly that. So you need to be able to fulfill orders in detail. So our system has always been crafted out in a way that people come in, they check out, and then we'll get everything listed out directly what they need. And so basically creators, if the game is ready, would be able to send out the project delivery the next day, because the data would already be readily available. So yeah, those are for us the main differentiators. And also that obviously we try to continue to invest and figure out what is the next need of that industry and build the tools. Like, for instance, we built a marketplace where people will be able to sell additional stock, or even like PDF products, digital products of their digital versions of their products, because that's what they need, right? What do you do once your crowdfunding is over? There's some that have distribution solutions, some that don't have, and they need to be able to benefit from traffic and from the high resources we have. So our idea is always to kind of like figure out what's next and how we can work in that direction. because it makes sense for us overall to invest into that industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as as we're all users as well as creators, we realize that we give our funds to some company who's running a crowdfunding campaign, and then we are redirected to a second service who then maybe even forwards it to a third service, and eventually, with your system, it sounds like a lot of mistakes can be avoided. A lot of errors that happen from transitioning from one system to another can just sort of basically go away, because it's all in one hand. And I can feel that is going to be very useful for somebody who's new, who just starts out, who wants the sort of one size fits all solution to their project, to their dream, basically, right? To do something that they have come up with. So how do users go about connecting with you? How does that work for them?
From a creator perspective, are we talking about creators who
Yeah,
wanna
let's start
launch
with the
events?
creators.
Well, they will just either we will meet like at a convention or anybody. Sometimes they just reach out through email to us beforehand. If they already have heard about us. Other than that, they can also just go to our website, and then they will have a form that they can just sign out, and it will send us an email, and then we will reach out and we will approve the account, or maybe circle back in if we might have any questions about that. And then we always try to find a time to schedule, like I said, like a 1-hour call and talk about where you're at, what kind of project are we talking about, what kind of structure are we also talking about, because it's very, very different if you are a one-person publisher just trying to make your dream come true, or if you're a big company, right? The questions that we are going to be getting asked are very different. For a smaller creator, it's really about how to build up the overall campaign, how to make sure that the basics are in place, right? For a big company, it's gonna be, okay, how do I get all my data connected? How do I get the most out of the tool? How can I make the sales process the easiest for people? So it's all about figuring that out, because for us it's important to know, okay, where we can chime in the best. I don't want to be telling every creator exactly the same thing, and I don't want to run the projects on their behalf, but I want to figure out, hey, this is somebody who's never had the chance to work in logistics, for instance, so maybe we need to talk about shipping and freight and stuff like that, and somebody else will just not have a lot of marketing and experience, and so that's gonna be more of those sections that we will address. So that's kind of like how it works out, and then you basically have an access. You can also ask for a demo of the backend side, so where we would go through, explain everything. Overall, you don't need us to walk you through, but it can help you if you want to talk at the same time with us about constructing your page. So that's always open there too. And then creators will just simply set up their project, maybe come back if there are any more questions. And at the end, we will go through and approve campaigns in order to confirm that everything is set up as we wish and as we need to. And then, yeah, that's it. Your project can be ready to launch.
Well, there you go. It's even more the key in hand solution. You basically seem to provide a lot of help for people who don't necessarily have the experience in all of those fields that you've mentioned, because it is quite a complex field. And even if you have an idea for something, for a game, for miniatures, a line, for adventures or something like that, you might not necessarily be experienced in all of the other segments, particularly where, as far as they are concerned with, you said it, marketing, logistics, and all that stuff, that can be a bit of a nightmare. And you tend to get that with a crowdfunding campaign every now and again, where you feel that, okay, there's a great idea, and somehow they're left alone to deal with the back end of things, and so you get endless delays and that sort of stuff happening.
I mean, we do our best to try to be there. It's not, we cannot be there at every step either, and it's also like open to the creators how much they kind of want to take your advice. And I'm not convinced that I have like the 100% solution or the miracle way that works for everyone. So I also trust creators to know their game and their community and their internal processes. So sometimes people will do it in another way, but we will try to be there, and we will also try to, like, obviously if you have a backend that will then handle everything. The backend is also going to be a bit more elaborate and a bit more. There's more information that you need to insert into a game on project that you need to insert in some of the other platforms beforehand. But it's also to make you understand that, hey, you're actually probably creating a company here right now. So there is a lot of things that need to be taken care of, right? Because if you're one person, that's great, and I have a ton of respect, but you need to understand that you're gonna be a creator, you're gonna be a creative director, you're gonna be an accountant, you're gonna be a logistics person, a production person, you're gonna be a marketing person, you're gonna do all of these different tasks. And I think it's very important to be aware of that, and to take that into consideration, because sometimes people are like, oh yeah, I just figured out that I have to do all of these things too, and that's not what I signed up for. And that creates a lot of distress also for the creators at the end, because the goal is that it's a great experience for everyone, including the creator, right? And so we do our best to try to educate people on that and to be there. And yeah, and then just to be as supportive as we can throughout the adventure for the creator.
Absolutely. It sounds like a great approach to things, particularly because you provide the experience, you provide the expertise of what you've done before, and I think it might be very useful for some creators to actually have that in hand and have the opportunity to do that. Basically, sort of have somebody look at their project and say, okay, this is what you're doing there, and then calmly go through it and say, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And then some people might go, oh, no, what can I do about that? And that's where, of course, expertise then comes in and goes from it. What about the user side of things? How do I explore the many projects that are happening on your website? Where do I go?
So obviously, I'm streaming here right the Game On website. That's the homepage, how it looks like. You will see different filters depending on the language you kind of browse with. We do have a majority of French and German projects, so those are mostly the ones that you're going to find in there. So you can obviously start out here. You can also see what's coming up. So you will see projects that are soon going to be launching. And then you can go on those pages and, for instance, sign up to be notified whenever they launch. You can also obviously go into the section where you will see all of the different projects that are currently live or that have been live, and browse through all of that. And once you have picked a project that kind of like piques your interest, well, you will be on the page and you will see everything what they have to offer. Like, this is a really cool project right now. Biotope, it's from a French publisher, board game publisher, and they do produce everything locally, entirely environmentally responsible as much as they can. And it's a really, really cool idea, right? And that's a typical project that would not be able to exist without crowdfunding, right? This is like the typical thing of, hey, we really need to figure out how we're going to go there. And as a user, you can obviously you will have, like on many other platforms, you will have a page with all of the different informations. They are very different depending on the project. For us, it's important that creators have kind of like a say in how their page looks as much as possible. Like, we will allow them to change like the font colors up here, or this project, for instance, uses a lot of images. Other projects will be more using more text and image combinations. Here, for instance, it allows them to have like backgrounds and then put text above that. And so, yeah, then you kind of like browse through what you're interested in. You will get a little preview here too as what is actually contained. And then basically you will enter into a sales process and into a sales tunnel. And we try to make it as easy as possible. We try to always highlight how much it's going to cost, what is contained in your order, right? That's kind of like the goal of the platform, is to make it visible what you're actually purchasing, and to not have the backer have to come back, add stuff. Obviously, it can happen that projects will unlock additional stretch goals, and that these might be, I don't know if that's the case here, but it might be that it will unlock something that you need to purchase in addition. Then in that case, obviously, you can go back at any time on your order and just add that product, and just pay the remaining fees for that.
Okay,
So yeah,
right.
and then obviously you will also have in your own account, you will have the list of all of your projects that you supported, and you will be able to track them, and you will have access to the digital files that you ordered. I'll try to see if I can. I'll just change my password, so I might not be able to connect right away. It worked. It worked. Okay. So yeah, in your account, you will see everything that you have supported, and you will see, for instance, like every project that has been updated, and also you will see stuff like My Digital Loot is all the digital versions of the games that you have been granted access to that you can then download. And yeah, the idea is for you to have everything in one space and not to be having to come back adding information later on.
Wow. That's I mean, I keep discovering this because I don't think I've used it before. I might have in one campaign or another, but you truly have everything in one place, and it's good. And I think that's wonderful because the amount of times when I've got this campaign here, and then you have to go through the messages and look through emails that might never have reached you because they landed in a junk folder. Look through whatever messages updating system or something like that and find, okay, so I need to go to the company's website and then use a code to get to the stuff. Whereas here I log in once, I see the projects I've backed, I see the product that is supposed to be coming my way. If it's digital, it's right there as well. I will definitely be exploring that a little bit later, although my credit card might not like that. So you talked about Pavillon Noir already. What are other big projects that you've carried so far?
Well, there have been a lot. Obviously, in the RPG section, we have had lots of big projects, especially like in Germany and in France. We've had also a couple of projects where we only did the late pledge section, so they were actually funded like on other platforms like Kickstarter, but we did the late pledge solutions in there. Like we worked a lot with Mythic Games and Monolith. We had the biggest RPG that ever was on our platform was the English version of the Kingmaker, the new edition of the Kingmaker campaign, and then we had lots of the Dark Eye in Germany, and then we had Roll and Play, which is an actual play format in France. It was here. And then we have Lucky Duck Games, who does all the French-speaking projects on our platform now when they do crowdfunding limits for that. And that's really impressive too, because like for instance Dice Throne season 2, they raised 400k for that season 2, which is I think really impressive given that it's only for the French market, because you always need to say that you have the English speaking market. We talked about that on Friday with when we talked about small scale publishers. It's like you have this English speaking market, and then it's like tiny localized versions. And so to be actually able to grasp that into attention in a localized market, I think is really, really impressive. And so they did that with Dice Throne, they did that with Too Many Bones, which is a great game too, and that they just recently launched. So that are some of the the biggest projects over here.
Yeah, you mentioned the English section. I mean, was it Noël Bond has that lyric in one of their songs that the rôlistes know all of the English. That's we'll use just for them. I mean, it's true that if you look at 400,000 for a French-speaking project, that's gigantic, because we're not looking at much more to talk about a success in an English-speaking project, right?
Yeah. So that's definitely, I think that's notable.
What are problems that you run into? What are the things that users get wrong or that creators get wrong when they work with your platform? What are the questions that your customer service gets?
We actually done I'm really, really proud of my team, because we managed to reduce the income of customer service requests by a ton. But obviously, when we started out, a lot of things, but we managed to take that into account and to really fix these things and streamline it way much. I think for creators, what I often see is sometimes a challenge is timing. I think creators are so passionate about their projects and about doing it, and they have a lot of maybe pressure or financial needs or stuff like this to get their project out. But that can be risky because sometimes it's just not the right time yet. It's often like you really need to build your community, right? That's just really so important, and you really need to get that hype up. And it can be really challenging to kind of like take that step back and say, hey, I am going to take the time and I'm going to push my project a bit further and I'm going to launch when I'm actually ready. And so I think that's sometimes a part where I try to kind of like communicate about that, and then sometimes creators are just too much under pressure and they just go ahead and launch and then have to adjust accordingly. Luckily, it's very few times that it's really like pushing them to relaunch later on. But yeah, I think there's a lot of pressure with that, and I think taking your time is the most important part when you're a creator, and launching when you're ready. It's more difficult when you are starting out and when it's your first project to know when you're ready. Bigger companies tend to like kind of get a bit of better feeling for that, but still there are sometimes when it's just too much pressure and launching easily. Yeah, for backers, I think it's very various because it really depends, because there's not one project that's the same. Right, creators will offer different things. Some projects will have stretch goals and add-ons and stuff like this. Some will not. Some will have like delivery in stores, hobby stores, stuff like that. So sometimes it can be a bit about how the project is set up, and then people asking questions about that to be sure. And other than that, yeah, you will always get the occasional question about how something works, or to make sure that everything is fine with their order. But overall, I would say we don't have like huge topics that come up most of the time from users. Yeah, we do see now a lot of people that are really invested into our platform too, right? And that will also like reach out when they have concerns about a project, or if they have like an idea for a feature or stuff like this. And I think that's really cool, because seeing that people are actually connecting to us as a platform too is actually something I wasn't even sure we would ever get there, because people come to our platform because of the projects and because of the creators that they're supporting, and that's the very first part. But yeah, there's a lot of trust that is there, and it's good to see that people feel confident enough to reach out to us and ask us if they have any questions about anything.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Thank you very much. So, where is this going to go? Where is Game On going to go next? What's the next big thing for you?
So I think for us it was a lot about already focusing on the stability. So we released a lot of different features over the past years, like for instance the marketplace and stuff like this, where things are really were pushed out through like COVID times and things like this. And for us, it's always important to make sure that our features work well and work well in the time. So I think that's where our main focus was over like the past year, is okay, let's build on that stability. And I think now we are catering towards, okay, hey, let's streamline a couple more things for project creators, making it more versatile for them, giving them more insights and more information. So those are not necessarily things that will be seen on the front end, but are pointers for creators to continue to keep a good eye on their projects, and then also to like update some of the interactions that users will have with publishers, like the comment section, and being able to follow and track the projects even more in detail, stuff like that. So those are kind of like the things we're working on. So I would say we went from a very big phase of big features into a phase from we're building stability, and now we are into we implement lots of little things that will make in the end big differences. Our main focus is always to stay close to the industry needs, to cater to them, to not get lost in something that it's not us, right? And to continue to build upon that.
You mentioned something earlier in one of the French games there, but do you see sustainability taking on a big role in the games industry? I mean, much more so than now, because very few companies are talking about it at all.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm really happy to see projects like Biotope coming up, because that's really cool. but obviously also it's a smaller company, and it's a different way of approaching things. I think what's really difficult for the industry overall right now is increasing in pricing everywhere and inflation. So also people have less money to actually spend. And so that actually gives a bigger hurdle in there too, because there still is a big price difference between producing like Biotubs do, like really locally with the smaller printers and stuff like that, or then to go to China and produce that. For a while, it wasn't that true with COVID, especially like for book printing. Eastern Europe has especially some very, very good competition. But China's getting again gooder pricing in there, so it's always works around. And I think the difficult part today is really for publishers, that there's already so few margins, especially in RPGs, that it's just too tough to be able to actually maintain that sustainability. That's why I can actually, I can't actually say that there is a lot of new progress in that direction that I see throughout the project. What I do see is, I think, a bit of, and I think that kind of might go into that direction, as a kind of like educating of the people about the actual price that things should cost, right? Even like digital versions of books, they should have a certain price tag with it, because it's just really, really expensive to create a 600-page RPG book, right? Because you have authors and proofreaders, and you have illustrators and layers, right? And all of that has cost. And so I think there is more openness, at least from the consumer on that behalf. They would still not be able to pay the price tag that would be needed to produce a sustainably eco-friendly product, and still pay everyone a fair share, and then have a margin because it's a company and it has a margin. So that's still too high, but overall the discussion is more open, and I think people take that into account. I think overall in our society, talking about having a good work environment and a good work-life balance, and being environmentally aware are topics that are getting more traction. And I'm hopeful to see that that's coming over. I can't really affirm that it's a lot of the case right now. So it's still a lot of the same production
Yeah.
measures.
At least we're starting to talk about it, because it used to be like, why is this book so expensive? It's only paper. And then, well, so you see that list of names in the credits. Everybody of those wants a little bit of something there. It's not all just passion projects.
In the comment section on a project the other day, I saw like people complaining about the pricing, because it must be an inexpensive book.
That's what
and
comment sections are all about.
Yeah, that's what comment sections are all about. And so there was one guy, just a backer, and he's like, "Hey, listen, guys, if all the publishers tell us that the fair price is this, maybe we should just start to listen, because maybe that's just reality." It's because it's not one publisher saying, "Hey, oh yeah, my books need to be 20% more expensive." It's all the publishers facing these costs, right? And that's true. At least in the RPG section, I do not know of one single publisher who has high margins that are, or anything, abusive margins or anything. They all work with like really, really limited budgets, and so the only way it really makes sense is when you sell a lot of copies. And that's not the easiest to do.
Cool. Let's talk geography here. Now, clearly, we've talked a lot about the German products. We talked a lot about the French products, and there's some really great French products. There's some really great German products. Sorry. What can us Europeans sort of teach the world, teach the English-speaking market, based on the products that we see do really well in the European markets?
I think it's difficult to say the European market, because Europe is such a wonderful region with so many cultural differences. So it goes even beyond that. What I overall think is quite true is a sense of embracing that local culture and the mythologies and the rich history that most European countries have, right? And bring that into that context. I think that's really something that's quite unique. You can see it right here, like with Wesen is so that's the German adaptation from Wesen, which was made from Freie Liga, right? It builds about the myths of Britain and Ireland, stuff like that. So that builds a lot into that. There's also in the European market the products need to be presented visually very, very well to be actually able to sell, because standards have gotten so high that you really need to stand out to be able to catch the eye. And I think that's something that's very specific also about Europe. And that's why some of these projects also, do so well abroad, or even there's even like it's kind of known from the US sometimes when you're a US publisher and approached from like a French company or somebody, they're like, okay, maybe they're gonna do the layout or something like this, because indeed there is a very high quality standard on that behalf in Europe overall, I would say. Yeah, and I think those are two big things that already pull into that direction. And that would be cool to see overall.
Yeah, I mean, European approaches to story worlds. Europe is such a rich story-laden continent, and such different cultures and such different approaches to all of these stories. I'm sure that we've only tapped a small proportion of that. I mean, Arthurian legend has been well and truly mined, and yet some aspects still remain sort of to be explored. And the thing is that some of the layouting or some of the artwork that goes into these European projects is truly delightful. When you look at some other products, I just recently looked at some products from the 90s, and it was nothing compared to it, and so we've really taken some steps there. And yes, I mean the market itself has asked to, or has forced that to happen, right? Okay, let me just look here through this list. We've talked about that. Yeah, is there anything else that we haven't talked about yet? Something that is on your mind?
So I think we have already touched on a lot of overall aspects. I think what's also always interesting to keep in mind is really about that conscience of crowdfunding is still. I mean, I talked a bit about that earlier, but it's still like really a challenge for all creators out there. And I think that's something that's often quickly forgotten, right? Because it's become so common. But I think what we also see, what I actually really see on the platform, is also you see people like we have backers that back nearly entirely. They purchase the biggest amount of their games through crowdfunding overall, not only on our platform maybe, but overall through crowdfunding. And then this element is really there, and that's a power to build on. And also, so it's a power, but also it's a challenge, because I think a couple of years back, what was really important in crowdfunding was like having a great product, showing enough well, right? That was kind of like what was the money over there, or have like a ton of miniatures that you're giving out, or goodies or stuff. And I'd say that has shifted a lot. I think the most valuable thing you can have as a creator is the trust of your community. And that's also what's gonna be your biggest enemy if you don't have that. Because if you're running a project and you've been late on another project, or if you didn't stand up to any mistakes you've made, well, it's gonna be an issue for your next project. And that was always true, but it is way more present now. And on the other hand, like if you've always fulfilled at least good quality, you don't necessarily need to fulfill everything like always on time, because there's so much things that just happen, right? But standing up to any mistakes you make and delivering a great quality product repeatedly is worth more than gold in that industry, in the sense of people will be there and will be trusting you. And I think that's today even more important than a few years ago to take that really into account. And if you want to be successful in crowdfunding, well, the great thing about crowdfunding is that you're selling directly to the community, but so you need to cherish that community, and you really need to take that into account, and then success is going to be way easier to achieve in the long run. Because it's also about, right, people talk about success in crowdfunding. Hey, did I reach my funding goal? That's not success, right? The success is in the long run. Was I able to deliver my project? Did I reach my own personal goals? Are people happy with the project? Can it continue to exist? Can I create other things, right? It can be a very personal thing, success, but it's about the success in the long run that I'm concerned about and that I'm interested about, is about how can we get creators about not just the funding goal, but into an actual successful project.
Yeah, and I mean that translates into the community in a wider sort of sense. I mean, we've just recently seen a very well-known, very big company really lose a lot of their trust from the community. They shall remain unnamed, but everybody knows what we're talking about. And I think that translates from very high on up to very down to the new companies, then the new creators coming in, and I think that's a very good lesson to take away, that it starts there. It starts with the communities, and you mentioned it earlier, where people launch their product too early instead of focusing. Okay, here's what we're trying to do. Here's what we're trying to get out there. Is this something for you? And then waiting for people to come trickling in from left, right, and center, exploring your world, exploring your ideas, and then getting on board until eventually you reach this sort of like point where, okay, we can do something here because enough people know about it, enough people have been convinced of our vision, and that's where we're going to go next with this. Absolutely. No, it's great to get this perspective from you who sees so many of these projects. I mean, it's a different. There's a difference between a user who is just going to explore and see, and okay, and this and that, and who's going to have a very different point of view to you're actually sitting behind there, seeing all kinds of projects before they even launch, and what changes in those projects happen until they are presented to the public, and how pieces come together, what those pieces are, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and the very important part to really know is that not one project is the same as another. You might get like trends inside of a publisher. A publisher might have his way of doing, or their way of doing their projects, and it might be really similar most of the time. But from one publisher to another, you will never get the same thing, and it's kind of strange sometimes, because sometimes a publisher will tell me, "Hey, you need to absolutely develop this feature. It's gonna help 100% of your creators," and I'm like, you're the only person using this in this way, right? So I don't know. Sometimes, obviously, when there's a trend coming up, and it will adjust, but it's really so different, and that's the immense privilege and honor I have to be able to work with all of those people, because I think that's great. I think that's the wonderful thing about crowdfunding, is that innovation is at its core. So you need to be innovative anyway, because that's the way how it works. It comes with a lot of challenges, because you never know what a creator is going to ask you about. You never know what idea they're going to present you with, but obviously it's a big pleasure to actually be there, and to see that evolution come along, and also to actually be able to have a platform that kind of caters to many of those needs. Not everything, because obviously the ideas are infinite, but yeah, we do manage not too bad, getting a lot of things done in a way that works. Yeah, but it's really is every project manager has their own challenges, their own way of working, and I think people often ask me about is, hey, couldn't you do like a calendar of what's coming up, and then so we could like adjust and like not launch our projects at the same time. And I'm like, I'm not able to do that, because project creators, they need to be able at the last minute to say, hey, I'm pushing my launch date, or I'm moving it forward, or I'm doing something completely different because that's just how it is, right? And everybody has struggles with their own thing, and especially in 2 years of like pandemic and production and delivery chaos. It's something so versatile and so alive that yeah, it's always a surprise what it's getting. But I can only be proud of all the creators that are doing it and releasing it, and all types of sizes. By the way, I think it's just so great to see that.
Mm. Talking of that, have you seen any recent shifts in the elements of crowdfunding campaigns that are sort of going somewhere, like something that's the next step in crowdfunding campaigns?
So the biggest recent change, but I would say that's already quite in place, at least over the last year, is launching projects with way less goodies and gifts, or even like none at all. And people, yeah, asking less about it too, right? A few years ago, it was really about, oh, I need at least to have all of these goodies. Other than that, I'm not gonna back. Like I said, there are people now that they simply just back crowdfunding games, and they're not in it anymore only because they're getting a better deal. I think you should always give them a better deal or something exclusive or an advanced look, because they are trusting you, and they're making it actually possible. So I think it's still important. But it's less important to actually just race for, okay, we need to find a way to get in everyone, and so we're giving out a miniature like every 5K, right? So that's something that's less present. So I'd say more simplified projects. And I think it's a good thing because it does a lot for production and delivery and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's the biggest like common trend that has come out, and then it's a lot of ideas about presentation. It's more about how to present the games, how to stand behind them, right, and say, hey, yeah, this is not just like some weird RPG thing. Hey, this is a really cool thing that we're gonna push beyond and before. Yeah, so it's more about marketing and the presentation about that you see differences right now. Yeah, but well, we'll see what what will continue to grow there and what's going to be the next trend in there. I think innovation is always needed in crowdfunding.
Yeah, I like to hear that you see this trend towards simpler crowdfunding campaigns, because
Yeah.
the amount of things that are stored in my game room that I have absolutely no need for, but were part of a campaign. Yeah, nobody needs that.
Yeah.
I'll want to play a game, and that's it. And then
And it kind
it's
of
always
also
tempting
goes
to
into the sustainability we talked about, right? Because producing
absolutely.
less stuff nobody will actually use has also that advantage. What I also see as a trend, and I think that's really, really cool, and I encourage people to do that, is more digital rewards. In addition, so I'm not only talking like of PDF versions, I'm talking about like a website that goes with like your detective game, or other than that, like financing an actual play session with like a big YouTube channel or something like this, because that's just really cool for people. They really enjoy generally like seeing their game be more brought about, stuff like that. And I think that's a really cool way to not get your production in a chaos because you're producing now, I don't know, plush animals somewhere, or coins or stuff, which are great. I personally love all of those goodies, but it's sometimes a struggle to get them done. And you could always say, well, that video, it can be done kind of like independently. Yeah, and so this is also a trend I see, and I really encourage.
Yeah, no, it goes back to the philosophy of your website as well, where you have everything in one place. If you produce less of those things that you're going to have to run left and right to other companies for, it's going to make your life
Yeah.
much easier as a creator
Yes.
as well. That's
Mhm.
right. And as you said, yeah, the sustainability aspect of that is right up there. Yeah, because you're going to play the basic game, and you're not necessarily going to get to the 14th expansion, which you cannot play without expansions 1 to 13, and so you might be left stranded with a box, and you go, "What is this for again?" But yeah, talking purely hypothetically, not about my own experience. Cool. Anyway, we are nearing 10:02 here. Is there anything else that you want to get out there? Any important things that we should know, that the public out there should know as well?
I think we've covered most of it. I can always have this as an invitation. Like I said, we have most of our projects are French and German, specifically due to COVID, well, due to our history of being a French company and working in Germany, but also then when COVID hit, it just exploded in these two markets, and it was also more difficult to travel elsewhere. However, we still do have English-speaking projects. We have Italian projects that launch in there, so it's still open to anyone over there. And I think what we also see now as a trend is not as a trend, but what we have seen overall in this industry, what I think is a really good thing, is the multiplication of different platforms. I think it's really, really important that creators have a choice, because you are actually, it's not just like a marketing platform, it's you're actually handling your sales over there, and I don't think it should be too encapsulated like within just one single platform. Obviously, I'm really proud that Game On is the top leading French and German platform for RPGs and other tabletop games, but still, I think that's cool, and that builds up a lot of new opportunities there as well. And so I also think that users are getting more used to using different platforms, even though it is a struggle a bit to have like your one project over there. Yeah, but for us, it's an invitation to anybody who's interested to reach out with us. We are always happy and interested to work with any kind of project that's around the tabletop sphere and to add our expertise if we can.
That's great. Thank you very much. We've been talking to Laura, who's given us the ups and downs, the ins and outs of Game On, the crowdfunding platform that mainly caters to German and to the French market, but is open to other projects as well. So go out there and explore them if you're looking for new games, and if you're game creators, do consider them as your crowdfunding option. Laura, I want to thank you very much for coming on and talking to us about that. I want to thank all of our listeners, of course, for listening in, and I think we're going to wrap it up here.
Thank you so much, Gerard, for your very good questions and the time you spent here over there. And to anybody who's been watching and listening, thank you for your time.
Very good. Okay, so we'll sign off.
Thank
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Every November, around 1,500 visitors turn into true weekend heroes in the quiet town of Dreieich near Frankfurt, Germany. So, what are we doing? We are a roleplay convention with everything that comes with it. Game rounds, numerous exhibitors like publishers, traders, and illustrators, an extensive program with workshops, readings, and panels, and of course, a coffee and tea flat rate. And you will learn to appreciate the latter because we are open for 32 hours. If you want, and if you can keep it in, you can immerse yourself in fantastic worlds non-stop for a whole weekend. With over 200 pre-registered game rounds, we are also the largest role-playing convention in Germany. But since we know that we can always improve, our team is constantly thinking about new things, such as our latest partnership with GaryCon in the US, or our online events on Twitch and Discord to which the entire world is invited. Curious? Then join us in